Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Our board meeting was scheduled to start at 5 p.m. this evening. However, we have now moved that closed session to begin at 5:30. And I will see you back at 5:30. Thank you.
Dr. Hurst, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, loud and clear.
Okay, sir.
You're ready.
Okay.
Good evening. Sorry, 1 second. I would like to welcome you to the Board of Education meeting. To access translation, please click on the globe icon below, or at the Jean, you can go to the corner of the room to get translation. Para acceder traducción, pueden apretar el botón del globo, o en Dijon pueden ir a la esquina del gimnasio. We are heading into closed session for tonight. Before we do, we're here to listen to any public comment there might be about our closed session items. The public gets 2 minutes for public comment. Per speaker, excuse me. The closed session items that we'll be discussing tonight are 1, student discipline, 2, liability claim, and 3, conference with labor negotiators. Staff, do we have any public comment tonight? Wonderful, thank you so much. Okay, everybody, we'll be out in open session at 6:30. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to our Board of Education meeting. I would like to welcome all of you. We are coming back from closed session. After our opening procedures, the public will have the opportunity to make public comment. To access translation, please click on the globe icon below, or at the Jean, you can go to the corner of the room to access translation. Para acceder traducción, pueden apretar el botón del globo, o en Dijon pueden ir a la esquina del gimnasio. Public comment is changing as of tonight. We have opportunities for non-agenda items in person through Zoom app, thank you, and by telephone at the beginning of the meeting. Public comment will last 30 minutes. The time allotted for each speaker is 2 minutes. If you are attending the meeting in person, you will need to submit a request to address the board form to indicate your desire to speak on the agenda item. If participating via Zoom, you will need to raise your hand by clicking on the appropriate icon in the Zoom app, or by pressing *9 if accessing the meeting by phone. No yielding your time or substitution speakers permitted. The public will also have an opportunity to make public comment on agenda items after the staff presentations for each discussion and action item. The public will have 10 minutes per item and 1 minute per speaker. Due to the Brown Act, board members cannot discuss items that are not on the agenda and do not usually respond to items presented in public comment. Now let's move to our opening procedures. First, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now for our line acknowledgement. We recognize that we are presently on the lands of the Chichenyo, Muwekma, Karkan, Ohlone peoples and acknowledge them as the first inhabitants of the land we currently occupy. Dr. Hurst, can you please do roll call?
Absolutely. President Gonzalez Hoy,
Present.
trustee clerk Smith Folds,
Good evening, everyone. Present.
trustee Reckler,
Good evening, I'm present.
trustee Phillips,
Here.
trustee Christian,
Good evening, President.
trustee Barone,
Good evening here.
trustee Santos,
Good evening, present.
all present and accounted for.
Thank you, Dr. Hurst. Now we're going to move to report ratification of closed session. Dr. Hurst, do we have anything to report out?
Yes, sir. Regarding agenda item A2.2, the board voted unanimously, excuse me, to reject the claim 616-665 dated 1/5/23 related to alleged personal injury. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hurst. Okay, everybody, now we're gonna move to public comment. Again, tonight's our first time doing the current format. The format, we have 30 minutes. The public can make comment on non-agenda items. If you are here to make comment on our agenda items under discussion or action, please wait until we get there. You will have an opportunity to make publics at that point. Now, if you have comment on non-agenda items, this will be the opportunity. Everybody will get 2 minutes. We have 30 minutes in total. We start with Dijon. Staff, do we have any public comment at Dijon?
Yes, our first public comment is Markeith Anderson. Markeith Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. I am Markeith Anderson. I'm here to let y'all know how I feel about the incident at Richmond High. I know y'all heard about the protest and everything else that's been going on at Richmond High. And I would like y'all help and for y'all to help me with the N-word being used at Richmond High. I am the one who has started the protest at Richmond High School and them also my other people who also have helped me. And I was wondering, could y'all help me through other schools throughout this district so we can stop this N-word so nothing like this won't happen again? And this is the We Stop, You Stop. It starts with us first. And we also would like others to stop too. So this is our design on what we're doing, and this also our pants. Okay. That's all I got right now. Yeah, you got to say.
My name is Kyra Easter. I'm the BSU advisor. Not sure how this really works, but we wanted to come up here just to get the support of the board and the district. We want to see this happen from K all the way up to 12, just throughout the school district. Starting a movement, right? That harmful language is not going to be accepted on any of our campuses. So we need the support of you all to figure out some kind of unique ways in getting the word out to our families from kinder all the way up to high school so that we can have a healthier learning environment. My last point is we already know when a young person is not feeling safe emotionally or physically on campus or in school, they're not able to learn. And that's what we see at Richmond High. We are 65 students on campus, Black African-American identifying students out of 1,500. And the word is being used like a comma, right? Left and right. And I don't think teachers or admin have the tools or the understanding on how to really stop this. So we need your help. Please support this movement. We Stop, You Stop. And we, meaning Black people, we will stop first. We are the influencers, right? What we do and say gets, around. And so we want to make sure that we are being proactive as the people.
Thank you so much. If you leave the posters with us, we can take them. Staff, the clock was not going off. And then I got to report that the camera is not on. So the Zoom can't see the speakers. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Leonie Goff. Leonie Goff. Our next public comment is Rebecca Ponce Larson.
Hello, my name is Becca Ponce Larson, and I'm a teacher librarian here at Dejan Middle School. I've been a teacher in this district for 12 years, and my husband teaches at Richmond High. He's been there for 17 years. We have 3 children that all attend schools in this district. Our oldest daughter is a 7th grader at Korematsu Middle School, and she's in the DLI program. My husband and I always knew that we wanted our children to be bilingual in Spanish, and this was really important to us. We were so happy that our daughter could be in the DLI program at Washington Elementary starting in kindergarten. It was really awesome to see her learning to read and write in Spanish, even before she could do the same in English. Today, she is still in the DLI program at Korematsu, and she's proud to continue studying in Spanish and learning in Spanish. She is still with many of those same kids that were in her kindergarten class at Washington, and they have been enjoying junior high, and they were looking forward to staying together at El Cerrito High School and continuing their program. Many of the DLI students at Korematsu are not zoned for El Cerrito High School, but have been under the assumption that they would be able to continue with the DLI pathway to El Cerrito in the fall of 2024. However, this past January 18th, many DLI parents were shocked to receive a message in Parent Square stating that the DLI program at El Cerrito would no longer exist, and students will no longer have a preference for transferring to El Cerrito from the DLI program at Korematsu starting in 2024. So I wanted to be here today to speak up for all the parents and the kids who have invested themselves into the DLI program. Many of us starting in kindergarten who believed in the mission and the vision of this program throughout middle and high school. We also believe that the district cared about bilingualism and the value of learning 2 languages starting from a young age. Compared to the high hopes we had when our children began school, now
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Our next public comment is Camille Salucci.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm actually not sure if we were on the agenda or not for DLI program. I know there's something under F1, and I don't know at some point if we can get clarification if that is a discussion of DLI or not. So it's not a DLI discussion. Okay, good to know. So then I'm speaking at the right time. Basically, I'm here back again, just really emphasizing the importance of our DLI program. My daughter has been in kindergarten with Rebecca's daughter since kindergarten. She also is a 7th grader invested in the program and has, some anxiety and those kinds of things about new transitions and these kinds of big thing. She's already asking me about, well, what's going to happen when we go to high school, Mom? How are we going to be together? I've spent all my time with these kids. So the community is super important, and the pathway for the DLI learning is critical. One of the things that's also on the table for all of us is DLI teachers, and that often is the reason that some of our DLI is not as strong as it should be, is because there's not DLI teachers. I know of DLI teachers who had applied to the district in August and didn't even get responses until the end of October. So we need to streamline that system, and we need to reach out to DLI teachers now. We need to allow them to start applying and recruitment and all of those things happening sooner than the current timeframe that is listed. The other thing that we're requesting is that we extend the intertransfer program by 6 weeks. And make sure to apply to the requests for data around the DLI program and all those things. And lastly, please make sure to agendize the DLI program on February 15th. We don't have time to wait until March. We need to make this action now and make it clear so we don't lose teachers who think that the DLI program is ending. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just for the next speakers, so tonight we don't have DLI agendized. We are talking about the EL roadmap and discussion, which is similar, but it's not DLI. We are agendizing DLI on February 15th. So if people want to speak about DLI, this would be the time. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you. We can go to the next speaker.
Our next public comment is Janisha J. Talton.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Janisha Talton. My daughter attends Siege Elementary School. She is in the 1st grade there. It has been an ongoing issue with bullying. My daughter has been bullied for the last 4 months at Siege Elementary School. I have reached out to a number of participants with your board here and have yet to receive any kind of follow-up or any kind of callbacks or anything. My daughter has been, her teacher has been bullied by the same student. My question to you guys as a board, what is your plan for students that need additional alternative help? I have a daughter, my daughter at her school, she doesn't give her teachers problems. She's not a bad student. She doesn't talk back. She doesn't give issues. She's not defiant. She's not any of that. Her education is being robbed daily by students that are disruptive. They're bullying and assaulting our teachers. We have a teacher, I'm not going to say her name because I'm not sure if I'm able to do that, but I'm sure you guys have heard about it. And if you guys have not heard about it, I have sent a number of emails and have yet to hear back from anybody. I won't say that I haven't heard back from anybody, but the response and the follow-ups that I've received has not basically been advocated for my daughter. It's a daily thing. I have another parent here. Our kids are constantly being bullied. And my question to you guys, what is it going to take for you guys to come down to Siege Elementary School and help our children? I asked for my daughter to be transferred out. My daughter loves her school. The fact that I'm having to move my daughter because of another student that's constantly bullying your TAs that have been put in the class to help the students, and also that our own instructor is being bullied by the same student and nobody is basically doing any kind of follow-up or any kind of help. So I was told that I could come here and I could speak and hopefully that I can get some sort of results for my child. My child is not a bothersome child. She's not doing anything. She wants to get her education, but each day her education is robbed because we have defiant students in the class. I'm not speaking down on the students that need additional help, but as a school board, you would think.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. Please please don't leave. Please give your information to our staff that are sitting on this long table. Our superintendent will follow up with you. Okay. Thank you so much. Please make sure you give him your information. You can go to the next speaker.
Our next public comment is Marie Bowles.
Good evening. I usually come up here with something written, but tonight I'm just going to wing it. I know I've become the poster child for Pinole Valley High School stadium seating. And I had a discussion tonight with Mr. Freeze as well as Mr. Phillips regarding comments that were made last week. I'm appealing to this board since I heard a board member state that they would be voting no. I'm appealing to this board to restore seating to the number that we had prior to the renovation. We're not asking for anything special or fancy. I've been here several times before. I see it's on the agenda for tonight. I hope it's put forth for a vote. It's what's right. Just like it's right, I was in this room with a different board, except one of you, Mr. Phillips, when the decision was made to ask the teachers to take a pay cut years back, which they did. And now I'm appealing to you to restore their pay if you lose these teachers, we won't be able to replace them, not at what this district is proposing to pay the teachers. I would like this board to make a decision as soon as possible. It's been on the news. It's giving us bad publicity in the district, and it's not going to make it easy to recruit teachers to the WCCUSD. So please vote yes for the stadium seating at Pinole Valley High School. Please vote as soon as possible for the teachers to get the raises that you promised to them, that they deserve, and that are in line with the current economic situation. As for the people who spoke earlier tonight about the N-word, that shouldn't be going on in any of our schools. And I hope that you will look at what they're proposing, and especially it being drawn up by a student, and put that out in all of our schools and give praise to the student who brought that to you. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Diego Munoz.
Hi, my name is Diego Caito Munoz. I'm a fifth grader at Washington Elementary School, and I love to learn and draw. The reason I think we should keep the DLI program is because I have some friends in my class who can only speak English or Spanish. With the DLI program, they help teach us both languages so that we can talk to family and friends and all kinds of people around the world. My abuelita only speaks Spanish because I am in this program. I can talk to her. She tells me that being bilingual is a superpower. I think she's right. Please support my school. Thank you. Gracias.
Our next public comment is Marlene Kanagi Munoz.
Before my time starts, I'd just like to ask for a community member who cannot speak, would like to have the chat box available to her because she doesn't have sign interpretation today. So I just ask that that be available to Rebecca Guerrero. Thank you.
We'll look into it. Thank you.
Thank you. So my name is Marlene Kanagi Munoz. While I'm proudest of being this guy's mom, I'm also a psychologist and a professor. I understand that the last couple of years have been hard on all of us. I'm also a very concerned parent around the future of the DLI programs. I was one of the co-authors of the letter you received earlier this week, so I trust that you've read some of our demands. I will use my time today to implore you to have better communication with parents. I left a DLI parent meeting yesterday at 9:30 p.m. 9:30 p.m. We could have all been home, putting our kiddos down, eating dinner, but instead we were meeting to figure out how to talk to you all, using our own money to pay for meeting space, coming up for ideas for the DLI program. As I left, I thought, what a shame. What a shame that we haven't been allowed to be an active part of this process. What a shame that mixed messages and last minute changes have broken the trust between you all and our parent group. Why? Because besides being a group of very passionate parents who see a future for our students that involves interacting with multicultural and a multilingual world, you're missing out on the opinions of a wonderful community. You name it and we have it. Homemakers, therapists, lawyers, doctors, artists. Nobody wants you to be more successful at your job than us. The future of our children depends on it. So I will add to my letter a plea for the inclusion of parents in future meetings and interviews moving forward around the DLI program. Please give us a seat at the table. Please communicate clearly and honestly with us moving forward. Please follow through on your promises for the DLI pathway. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Mark Shawls.
Good evening, board and district. So members of the board described this district as leading the way when it adopted a COVID-19 mandate requiring district students to be vaccinated with EUA vaccines that had absolutely no long-term scientific studies to support claims of safe and effective in the long term. Within 24 hours of this decision, the state announced its own future vaccination requirement. Yesterday, EdSource published an article that intimated California leaders are quietly closing the door on its proposed COVID-19 vaccination mandate. If the state leads the way, in abandoning its attempt at a new vaccination requirement. Will the district follow and do the same? Number two, the district's website prominently displays a graphic reading collective bargaining updates. Read the latest proposals and find information about contract negotiations with each of the district's unions. The last post is from October 28th, 2022. A lot has changed in that space of time. Please update the web page so that it lives up to its description. Number three, if UTR were to strike, it is unclear to me how much warning families would have to prepare for its effect on their lives. Please inform in the next superintendent message or sooner that UTR has said loudly and clearly on multiple occasions that its members will strike if the district doesn't meet its requests. This is something all families need to be made aware of earlier rather than later because of its significant effect on their lives. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Kim Chamberlain.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Chamberlain, IAPTE Local 21 SSA Chapter President. I am also the Student Information System Supervisor for the school district, working with the attendance, enrollment, and projections for next year. I can say we are looking very good at our TKK, returning students from charter schools. We have great teaching staff. We have great classified staff. We are showing people out there that we are caring and we want them to return to our district. I can give huge kudos to the secretaries, office managers, registrars, attendance clerks for working very diligently and hard to make sure families feel welcome. I am also saying that teachers and principals, scouts are out there working their best to make sure that everybody feels very welcome coming back into our school sites. Please keep acknowledging our staff and our people and make sure that the community understands that we are a great school district and we are trying our hardest to make sure that everybody is welcome. My biggest thing is make sure that they all feel safe. We have employed some wonderful staff members that are making sure that students feel safe and that our community is welcoming. Please continue to make sure that those staff members are supported. Make sure that everybody understands that they have that health and welfare of their mind and their work is at the importance of the board. Please get out there and keep communicating with them and looking towards them. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Alon Harrison.
Good evening, board. Happy Black History Month. So wonderful. Woo woo. I want to share the good things that's going on right now. We've been working with our Darius and John from OASA with the Black Parent Resource Center, ASAD, and we're doing a lot of good collaborating to do a lot of wonderful things for our children in the district. Dr. Hurst has definitely been on board with supporting that work with the staff and the community. So thank you to Welcome Black History with those nice thoughts. Thank you, Mr., for supporting your area school and the youth and the work that we're doing over there. Thank you for that and acknowledging that. I appreciate that. That was well needed, much needed. And I just want to thank all the work that Otherese is doing with us to support us also with our youth summit. We're planning a summit for our youth, and I'll talk about that later, but I just wanted to highlight all the wonderful things that are getting accomplished. We still have a big need to get our Black children reading scores and math scores up. So I'm excited about working with the district staff to engage parents more in making sure that happens. That is a big, big, big issue for us to ensure that our children are successful and productive citizens when they leave this district. So I think I said all that I can think of this evening. I'm here for the Black kids and thank you. And I hope you guys have a wonderful Black History Month. I'll be back on the 15th. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Cindy Wu.
Good evening, President Gonzalez-Oy, trustees and Superintendent Hurst. I'm a parent of the district DLI program as well as the West County Mandarin School since 2017. As we become a more globally connected world, DLI program offers crucial life skills of learning a new language, building executive functioning skills, becoming a global citizen, as well as expanding horizon for more job opportunities for all of the kiddos in West Contra Costa Unified School District. I want to thank you, Dr. Hurst, and district staff for your engagement, as well as the trustees over the past 2 months for your engagement and responsiveness in addressing the concerns of the West County Mandarin School families. I'm here asking you to please put a vote to approve West County Mandarin School as a K-8 on the next school board agenda on February 15th. Secondly, please also invest in a district-wide DLI K-12 pathway because there are all these families who are here in support and recognizing the importance of learning new languages. So please invest in a K-12 pathway in our district because this is our solution to attrition. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Omar Diaz.
Hello. Hi, good evening. I'm also a parent for Stage Elementary School, first grade. My daughter's 6. She's also being affected by the same bullying by the same single individual for the past 1.5 years. It's been longer than 4 months for us. Every day she's either thrown pencils at, pushed. I went to go get fingerprinted to volunteer to help this teacher in the class. She's one teacher to 24 students. I told my daughter I was getting fingerprinted and she thought I was going to come in class every day to take care of her. And she asked me if I'm going to come every day to watch her because this kid hits her every day. I went to go watch this class with Director Coy and Sander. He had a psychologist come in and within those 30 minutes, this child pulled the chair from a kid, pushed another kid against the wall and then ran into the hallway and did whatever he wanted to do. So these other 23 students in this class are being disturbed, affected their education because of one single student. For some reason, nobody knows what to do with this individual. He clearly needs more attention or some sort of support, but inside this classroom, he does not sit still. He walks around, pushes kids, throws pencils at them. He's hit my daughter with a jacket. The zipper almost hit her eye. So I'm fearful that at some point she just won't want to go to school anymore. And she loves school. I've had her in preschool since she was 3 years old. She loves to go every day, but every day she's comes to tell me this kid does this to her, this kid does that to her. And it angers us as parents. I know it angers Shabria's mom over here. I've gone there to support, to stand in there. She doesn't want me to leave the school and it breaks my heart because I'm not there to be there every day for her. I want her to be independent, but we just don't know what else to do. They've added another individual to the classroom after winter break. The psychologist told me she's seen everything she had to see about this one child. They added another parent or another teacher in the classroom to help this one child, but it continues. So at this point, we don't know what is it going to take for our child to be safe in class. We're just fearful of something serious happening to them and then just not wanting to go to school anymore. Hopefully something can be done about this one individual to save the other 23 kids. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Reina Flores.
what the means is my name is Esther. I'm in second grade at West County Mandarin School. And I want a plan for my school to have a location to be K-8. DLY. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, my name is Reina Flores and I am Esther's mom. I am not as fluent as her in her English. I'm trying to do my best. For our school, West County Mandarins is an essential need that to have a bus. We live in Richmond, and for all the kids that go to West County Mandarin School from Richmond and San Pablo or some on El Cerrito, we benefit to having the bus. This is the only school that offer the transportation in that way. And if we don't have the bus, the children for this area in the district they cannot have a chance to move and learn to another language without a bus. I am a low income family and my daughter has an IEP. She is will benefit for these another languages. The dual immersion program is so benefit for her. And I really appreciate it if you consider it to approve it and expand and to have room for us. Thank you.
Thank you. So I was informed that we have just finished our time, but what we should have done is that we should have done one person in Dijon, one person in Zoom. So we won't be able to hear from anyone in Zoom. So if it's okay with the board, since it's our first day trying, I'll extend it by 30 minutes so we can hear from people from Zoom. And then next meeting, we'll just do the 30 minutes, but we'll go one in person, one in Zoom. If it's okay with everybody. I hear people shaking their heads. No objections? Okay, wonderful. Staff, we're gonna now move to Zoom.
Our first public comment on Zoom is Kumi Yanagihara. Please unmute yourself.
Hello? Okay.
Hello? Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Good evening, Superintendent Hurst and trustees of the board. My name is Kumi Yanagihara, and I'm a second-year biology and AP environmental science teacher at Kennedy High. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about wildlife conservation, which is something I teach in my class. Human activity is causing a higher rate of extinctions than the background or natural extinction rate, and some call this the sixth mass extinction. Due to mismanagement of natural resources and anthropogenic climate change, more species are threatened with extinction as their realized habitats shrink or disappear altogether. There are 7 levels of conservation ranging from least concern to extinct. And when conservation biologists learn that a species is threatened, they do everything they can to prevent extinction. That means researching the causes of the population decline and developing solutions to get the species back to the least concern level. I imagine you can see where I'm going with this. When a population is threatened, we do everything we can to save it. The current teacher population, particularly that of STEM teachers, is dwindling across the country, but especially in our district. I'm the only science teacher at Kennedy who stayed from last school year, somehow making me, as a second-year teacher, the most veteran Kennedy science teacher and also department chair. And now I am one of only 2 science teachers at the K. 254 of our students are currently enrolled in Edgenuity, meaning they don't have a classroom teacher who teaches them science. It breaks my heart when a student I don't have stops me on my way to lunch and asks me, "How can I get in your class?" Our students should not have to ask to receive a proper education, and the fact that they are proves that we are failing our kids. We already know why people are leaving our field. So what we should be doing now is, like the conservation biologists, developing solutions to prevent further harm and potential extinction. At this rate, nobody is going to want to stay in this field, no matter how much we love our kids. Teachers need a living wage, We need resources allocated for community schools to actually go into our schools, and we need to start investing in our students' futures. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Cristina Huerta. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Cristina Huerta, and I'm also a teacher at Kennedy High School. I attended the school board meeting last week, but I didn't get a chance to speak, so I figured I would log on tonight. I'm so grateful for the students and community members who spoke about their experience in this district last week and who showed their support for teachers, counselors, psychologists, and speech language pathologists. I hope that the board and Dr. Hurst were able to see that we are ready to fight for the schools our students deserve. Like Ms. Yanagihara just said, at Kennedy, we don't even have a full staff. We're missing 2 crucial science teachers. And you know this because I have called into these meetings before and I've told you all about it. Last week, Kennedy student Daniela Valenzuela told all of you that she used to be enrolled in Ms. Yanagihara's biology class, and then she was removed to take a science class on Edgenuity, where she just has to watch videos and answer questions and sort of figure things out on her own. That's unacceptable. And I'm worried that we won't have a fully staffed science department next year either, because we are not going to be able to recruit teachers with the salary that this district offers. We need a fair contract so that we can retain the teachers we have and recruit new ones. I live in this community and I've been teaching in this district for 10 years. I don't want to strike, but I'm ready to do it if needed. I want to finish the year strong supporting my AP students as they prepare for the AP exam in May. Last year, 30 out of 32 students passed the AP Spanish language exam at Kennedy High School. That's higher than the passing rate for the state of California. Our students are already doing wonderful things with the little support that you're giving us. Imagine how much more we could do if you were paying us a fair wage so that we could hire more teachers. We could hire more language teachers at Kennedy so we could offer French or ASL. So you need to give us a living wage now.
Our next public comment is Shalon Santiago. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, good evening. Wow, I just want to say you have some amazing teachers. I really implore you to
Can you
listen
give
to
us a
them.
second, ma'am, so we can put the timer up?
I'm assuming I'm still supposed to be waiting.
Sorry, we're pulling up the timer. Okay.
Okay, I'm Sean Santiago, parent of 2 DLI students at Stewart. I'm talking to you today about our DLI program. I stand in solidarity with Washington regarding their pathways. Families in the DLI community are passionate, resourceful, and active. We specifically chose to have our children in DLI. We are really dedicated. We have a major issue in DLI. We are missing teachers. Stewart started this year without 3 teachers. After bringing it to your attention, we got a little Band-Aid for those 2 classes. But what about next year? Next school year, Stewart will be out at least 2 teachers, and that's hoping that they stay on after your contract negotiations. I talked to one teacher today, and she doesn't know what she's going to do. And she is our big DLI teacher. She is our main one who all of the kids look forward to having, and she doesn't know if she's going to stay because of your negotiations. I beg you, please start hiring now. We need to be proactive in hiring credentialed DLI teachers. My son started 3rd grade without a teacher, and his Spanish has severely declined. He doesn't want to read in Spanish. He is 3rd grade and he's reading 5th grade English level, 5th grade, but he refuses to read Spanish, even though he knows it. He cannot have another bad year. You cannot fail him and his classmates again. You can't fail them. We are ready to jump ship. If we don't have a teacher for next year, we will have to move to private. I don't want to take my child out of their community. He's been in his community since kindergarten. But education is important, and WCC is not providing an education. You can't provide an education without giving us a teacher. We need teachers. Please take action now before it's too late, before you have more kids jumping ship and DLI just crumbles. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Allison Natchman. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Allison Nachman. I'm a parent of a student at Washington in the DLI Spanish program and also a 10th grader at El Cerrito High School. I spoke last week and I just wanted to say again and to keep the conversation moving so that you all know how important of an issue this is for us. Specifically, I would like to know why and who made the sudden change to the kindergarten through 12th grade pathway at El Cerrito High School. I would like transparency to understand why a change was made without any discussion from the community. A model DLI program includes high school classes that are not advanced classes or AP Spanish. They're academically driven by a DLI approach and should be a continuation from the kindergarten pathway. It seems that some have a misunderstanding that just an advanced Spanish class or an AP class would be equivalent to a DLI Spanish class that should be offered at El Cerrito High School, as was promised when my son was in kindergarten, again, who is now in 10th grade. Instead of ending the K through 12 pathway as that was promised to families and students who plan their lives accordingly to this pathway should be honored. And I would like an action plan presented to the community, the DLI community, on how they are going to hire DLI teachers for El Cerrito High. Thank you for your attention, and we'll see you guys again when we discuss it at the next board meeting when it's on the agenda. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Ian Batter. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening, everybody. First, I'd like to acknowledge and appreciate the amazing students from Kennedy who spoke at last week's meeting. I already knew how amazing our students are, and now you do too. I also was waiting to speak last week, and so this is what I wrote for that. So hello, I am Ian Bader from Kennedy High School. This is my 18th year in the district, but I'm not here tonight for me, and I'm not here for my wife, Nancy, who's been in the district for over 30 years and seen her pay cut in the 90s and her benefits slashed in the 2000s. Instead, I'm here for Ms. Avendano and Ms. Yanagihara. I'm here for Mr. Vigil and Mr. Porter and Ms. Hernandez and the other Ms. Hernandez and every other new, energetic, impassioned teacher who will probably pack up their classroom and leave this district for one that pays better. But most importantly, I'm here for James and Carissa and Ureli and Eric and Gael and all the other ninth graders who deserve to have teachers who will still be at Kennedy when they graduate. I can't tell you how many letters of recommendation I write because I'm one of the only teachers still around that students know when it's time for them to graduate. The most important thing that we do as teachers is build relationships, but that's hard to do when your salary doesn't allow you to stay for more than a year or two. End this impasse now and give us a fair and competitive salary. A strike is in no one's best interest. The students deserve better. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Donna Phillips. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Dana Phillips, and I'm the music teacher at Kennedy High School. And I want to echo what Mr. Bader has just said, that really the most important thing is relationships. My students are suffering because they were online so long. And when you don't have a science teacher, and I get 75 extra students, so I have 52 students in a guitar class with 12 working guitars, this kind of thing, it doesn't serve the students. And when I can't find out how to access my classroom budget. And I later find that you expect the office manager at the school to figure out what to order for a music class, that she can't figure it out. And I don't even have books for my piano class. They just came yesterday. So my class went an entire semester without books. And then I don't know how you expect to attract teachers when you're not giving anybody a raise and you're playing games with the classroom budget. I spent $400 of my own money on supplies because I care about the students. The students in the district are wonderful and they deserve to have students stay and support them. They shouldn't have, a new teacher every year that they don't know. So I just really want you to support the teachers because we do care about the kids. Thank you so much.
Our next public comment is James Taulu. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening, Dr. Hurst, Trustee Gonzalez Oy, Trustee Smith Falls, Trustee Reckler, Trustee Phillips, Trustee Santos Hernandez, Trustee Baron. My name is James Tualu. I'm a parent of West County Mandarin School. I'm requesting the superintendent and the board to put the WCMS K-8 item in the agenda for the next meeting of the board, which is February 15. And I share this to the board, the previous one before the current one, when West County was looking for a site to accommodate its growth. My child was accepted by a charter school, and before we decide whether my child will go to the charter school or West County, my wife and I talked to my child what she wants to. And my child said she wants to go to West County. So my wife and I decided to decline the offer from the charter school and hoping that West County will accept my child. So I hope the superintendent and the board will grant the request from the WCMS community to extend our school become K-8. Thank you.
My name is Rosalyn.
Our next public comment is Wei Chin Call. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening. As a parent of two attending West County Mandarin School and the current WCMS PTA Executive Vice President, I'm speaking today to pledge my support for the continuation of K-12 DLI pathways and to advocate for West County Mandarin School to becoming K-8 school officially. Our PTA conducted a community-wide survey, and the results reflect an overwhelmingly 80% of our community are adamant on becoming a K-8 school, even if that means split campuses. Our school is a district school that serves students and families residing in all 5 trustee areas. Please listen to your constituents and support our motion to becoming K-8. Please agendize WCMS as a K-8 DLI school for the next February 15th school board meeting. Please vote yes to establishing WCMS as a K-8 DLI school. West County Mandarin School originated in Richmond and was moved to Pinole 2 years ago without consulting our community. We were not a part of the school site decision-making process then, so we're very grateful for Superintendent Hurst and the current district staff's engagement this year. We acknowledge and appreciate you making the time and effort. Please continue to support WCMS and ensure equitable access to the school by including WCMS in the district reduced price bus contract with First Student Bus Company. We also eagerly await your answers to our consolidated list of questions that were previously shared. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Asinyi. Please state your full name for the record and then unmute yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Xingyi. Good evening, WCCUSD School Board. My name is Benjamin Blanc. I am a third grader student at West County Mandarin School and also an APAC member. I would like to make a request for school board member to put on February 15th agenda meeting to vote for our school and become K-8 and support DLI program. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Nora Ponce Calhoun. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening, board members. My name is Nora Ponce Calhoun. I am the mother of a son in the first grade at Washington Elementary School. I spoke at the last meeting. I've also spoke directly to Dr. Hurst and a few of the board members in regards to the DLI program. Part of the issue for me is transparency in terms of the DLI program. I'm not understanding how we went from over a dozen DLI schools in a matter of years down to 4 or 5 schools without any community input or a committee to let us know what the problems were, whether we had solutions or whether there was an actual pathway that would allow us to continue. We came in last year with the thought that we would have a track to continue the DLI program, not specifically just El Cerrito, but a track in general. I want my son to benefit from dual immersion languages, from culture, from things that revolve within his community, because that is what makes us a community, whether it's Mandarin, whether it's Spanish or any other language. And that's a promise he was made. And I'm hoping you guys will be able to fulfill that. It was also a surprise to me that specifically 2 board members that I spoke to also felt blindsided by the news that the trackway was no longer continuing. So there seems to be a disconnect even within your own board as to what is occurring as far as transparency is concerned. I hope you guys will agendize DLI for your next meeting. We also need teachers, and because DLI takes a little bit more, we need to get on top of that now in order to fill those positions for the next year. That's really important. So we need more time with that. We also need somebody to help bridge that gap with community. You can see just by that outpouring of last meeting and this one that we are strong. We are a community, and we will keep pushing until we get what you promised. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Bradley Couch Basulto. Please unmute yourself.
Good night, everyone. My name is Bradley Javier. I am a student from Kennedy High School. And this is I would like to say. These are difficult times. They have always been. Our times are the times of lack of feelings. We continue to be resilient in the face of all adversity. We have suffered so much, but I trust that the day will come when it hurts less. However, we face problems without solutions. We exist without living. The great misery has arrived, an immensely depressed youth. I am sorry to tell you that we are in the storm and we are sinking. Today, I would like to talk to you about my experience as a student at John F. Kennedy High School and as a friend. Initially, it was complicated, stressful, frustrating, and a tiring process. And to be honest, it was difficult for me to adapt to this new life. Having to start from the scratch, I made mistakes because of my ignorance about the culture, and my biggest enemy was the language barrier. I was limited to express what I felt, but the people that helped me, these wonderful people, that make me feel in home. They gave me a warm welcome, the very scarce home sweet home, a warm place to stay, and the compassion and kindness they gave me left me a mark. And I'm really, the words that I seek not exist because my gratitude towards them has no comparison. Please don't let me say goodbye to these wonderful people that always helped me even when I felt that I was alone in this world, trying to push my limits. And it's frustrating when you are alone and you are fighting and it's still hurting. But these people are like my family. So please, from the bottom of my heart, help me. Thanks for your time and attention.
Our next public comment is Ashlyn Abbott. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Ashlyn Abbott. I am lucky enough to work at Kennedy High School. You have heard from our community. You have heard from other school communities. Happy Black History Month. Who is going to stand up and talk about why bullying is happening? Why aren't there enough teachers to make sure there are loving conversations about why we don't use hateful language? Why are these children having their parents struggle to find the time outside of their jobs to come support young teachers that have 24 children that they are doing their very best to take care of? You all have heard from students, you have heard from educators, you have heard from the community. Now is the time to care about your own standards you have set. You said that you wanted to care about African-American boys doing mathematics better. Well, guess what? We don't have enough math teachers and they are not finding new ones when you are not doing the math yourselves. Looking at the percentages that you spend on education for teachers is appalling. We need to raise the wages that educators get. I am a parent. I just put my kids to bed. I had to move out to Vallejo and I commute every day because I am at a dream school. You don't stand up for them. Each one of these parents and teachers do. And we need to make sure these children feel loved, supported, and safe. Let's start that today. And I can't wait for you to start caring. Let's get it. Let's going. I'm done.
Our next public comment is Sarah Coles. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Hi, my name is Sarah Coles, and I am currently a kindergarten dual immersion teacher at Washington Elementary School. I have been a dual immersion bilingual teacher for 18 years now. And when my family and I moved from San Francisco to El Cerrito in 2008, one of the reasons we chose this area was because I was aware of the dual immersion program at West Contra Costa Unified School District. In fact, Washington was the school. And I believe at the time it was the only school that was available. For several years before my son was ready to attend kinder, I attended the tours, the information sessions to get a better understanding of the program. And it was during these tours that I learned that this program was a K-12 program. I was very impressed with their Pathway Dual Immersion program, Washington to Korematsu to El Cerrito High School. I was also impressed that the program was to maintain a content-based Spanish classes with a 50-50 model from the 4th grade up. We were lucky enough to get our son into the preschool at Washington because our idea was to start making connections to build our community, hoping that we would get into the DI program come kindergarten. However, once the time came from enrollment, there was a wait list of over 60 people, and we were in the 20s on that list. We are an interdistrict transfer because we live in El Cerrito. So we enrolled on our son in the neighborhood school, which was Mira Vista. Our son attended for 3 weeks and loved Mira Vista. But when the call came that there was a spot open at Washington, we jumped at the opportunity. We've always been committed to having our sons receive dual language instruction, K-12, as the program was presented to us. My son is now in the 10th grade at El Cerrito High School. My second son was able to get in a DI program because he had a sibling at the school, and he is now a 7th grader at Korematsu. For these reasons, as an educator in the program and as a parent in the program, I'm very disappointed and disillusioned by the decision to eliminate the program at the high school. This was a K-12 program that was presented to us as parents. We were asked to make a commitment to a 13-year educational plan. In addition, as a kindergarten teacher in the program, I continue each year to explain this commitment that we are asking of parents and the pathway that has always existed. I'm asking that you please reconsider the
Please conclude your
elimination of the
comment.
PI program.
Our next public comment is Amy Cantu. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Amy Cantu, and I've got 2 kids at West County Mandarin School. I'm also a parent turned substitute office staff helping out at the school. I want to thank Superintendent Hurst, the district staff, and the trustees for being open to listening to our community about our needs to grow our school. I want to really encourage you to vote and approve West County Mandarin School as a K-8 program on the next school board meeting agenda on February 15th, 2023. I also wholeheartedly stand together with the other dual language immersion schools and support a WCCUSD district-wide DLA K-12 pathway. I want to highlight that the DLI programs will attract families and keep students in the district. I also want to highlight that we have actually found studies, multiple studies, that show the importance of DLI in supporting English language learners. There's a study that is randomized and a controlled study in an urban area that includes Mandarin and native Spanish speakers. And it shows that DLI helps English language learners learn English better and faster than English only instruction. And the outcomes are even better if the DLI language matches their home language. So DLI is really important for our community, for helping our English language learners learn English. And because, you know, this is something that's keeping students in the district. So I really hope that the district continues to support DLI through 12th grade. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Evelyn Yakian. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Evelyn Jakian. I'm also a parent of 2 students, one in Washington and one in Korematsu of the DLI program. And as many parents have said, I choose this program because I know it's one of the most helpful programs for kids. I'm a Latino mom, and I'm really proud of my kids that I've been learning. They have been learning the language in 100% in this community. And I moved from another district that didn't have not even one school on a DLI program. So that's why I basically follow this area to have my kids on the program. And now all of a sudden, even without communication to the community, we are not getting it anymore in the Cerro High School. I think it's very disappointed about it, and I think it's not acceptable that we as a community don't count on some things for the district. I believe in public education still, and I think we can do better. I love the teachers. I support them the whole time. They're doing a great job. But I think as a district, we need to do better. And I'm actually trying to stand up for that reason. And for all the reasons that I've been hearing on the board, everything is really important. But in my case, it's because of the DLI program. And I would like to know if it's going to be agendized for February 15th, so we can talk about it probably in a couple of board meetings, because we need to understand why we're becoming to this point. And thank you so much for your time and for your attention to this matter.
Our next public comment is Jinwei Zhang. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, hi, can you hear me? Thank you, all the board member and Dr. Hurst, to let us speaking in the board meeting, and I am a parent of a fourth grader of West County Mandarin School, and it has been a really wonderful school, and with all the diversity and all the parents be looking for, and we have a very successful program with the Mandarin immersion DEI program, and I'm very, very happy with the program. And for this reason, we moved into this district to attending this school. And I would like a district have all the support for us for all the DEI program throughout a K-12 pathway for all the students that who and the parents who select their student into this special program to be able to have a pathway to continue in the district. And the world become all connected these days. And the second language become more and more important for all the students for the future. And as a parent of West County Mandarin School, and we urge you to consider put the K-8 program for our school onto the next school board, and that and help our children become a more success, and have all the children from all the 5 districts who selected to be in the DEI program to be success. Thank you.
And our last public comment for tonight is Aya Yacob Collins. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Ala Yacob Collins, and I'm a parent of a third grader in West County Mandarin School. Elizabeth Collins.
My name is Elizabeth Collins. I'm 8 and I am in West County Mandarin School, and I want to vote yes on K-8 program.
Thank you. We've started in the school from the kindergarten. We have an amazing principal, amazing teacher body, amazing PTA. It's a wonderful community. The school has gone through a move. Kids are very resilient, and we would encourage the board to put voting of the school to be a K-8 school on the next agenda and vote yes to really encourage the growth of the community and the DLI program, and to support the pathway of K-12 for not only West County Mandarin School, but for other DLI schools in the district. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everybody who made public comment. We are going to go to the next item, but before we do, I was asked by one of my colleagues just to clarify about some of the things that were heard during public comment. Yes, we are agendizing the DLI conversation for February 15th. We have already discussed it and we are agendizing it, and it includes both Mandarin and Spanish, which is why it's taking a little bit longer so that staff can prepare for the full DLI program. Okay, we just wanted to clarify that. Thank you so much. Board, we're gonna move to agenda review and adoption. Are there any questions with the agenda? Okay, without any objection, we'll approve the agenda. Okay, approved. Thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna move to item B8, resolution number 2223/45, honoring African American History Month. And I believe Ms. Sanders, this is your item. Thank you.
Thank you. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education and the West Contra Costa Unified School District Board of Education acknowledges the month of February 2023 as African American History Month and encourages all educational communities to commemorate this occasion with appropriate instructional activities. Be it further resolved that the West Contra Costa Unified School District and its schools will display the Pan-African flag during the month of February 2023, consistent with the district's policy and administrative regulation.
Thank you so much. Board, do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I move that we approve resolution number 2223-45, honoring African American History Month 2023.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Board. Are there any comments? I see, we'll start with Trustee Phillips and we'll work ourselves down.
Thank you very much. Prior to the beginning of this meeting, I was stopped by some African-American parents and students. And what they expressed to me are things that we've heard in this chamber at different times. The African-American students, particularly the BSU students, are feeling under attack. They're feeling under attack at Richmond High School, and they're feeling under attack at other schools as well. And while I think it's important that we recognize Black History Month, I also think it's important, equally important, that we recognize Black present, not just history. And in the present, there are a number of kids who are struggling. What the parents and BSU members, students asked were to be able to come and address the board regarding the treatment that they are receiving at their individual campuses, including by staff. And in addition to that, the use of the N-word in district schools. They would like to have a conversation with the board. They'd like to be agendized for that. They thought that they would be agendized for that this evening. And ultimately what they want to come out of this conversation is a board policy specifically regarding the use of the N-word, which is something that I do support. I just want to hold up this poster, which they gave me earlier today, just so folks who didn't see it earlier have an opportunity to see it now. So this is not my specific request, but I am relaying a request from Black parents, Black students, and some Black educators to have this agendized, specifically to talk about the treatment of Black students, including in the BSUs, and the use of the N-word on district campuses, district properties, and hopefully a board policy coming out of that. That is their request, and I hope that it is honored. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we move to the next trustee, I apologize, I forgot to announce our timer for the board. So for this section, since I want to be consistent, I'll just let you all obviously just, share your thoughts with no limit. But for the rest of the agenda items, we will do 3 questions, 1.5 comments. For the EL roadmap, though, we'll do 5 questions, 2-minute comments, since it's a big item. For the EL roadmap, it's the first discussion item. Yes, and 2-minute comments. Thank you. Okay, who would like to go next? Clerk Smith-Foltz, go ahead.
Thank you so much, President Gonzalez-Hoy. Thank you for your leadership and your consistency. Dr. Hurst, this resolution says a lot, and we owe our students a lot when we pass it. So I want to take time out to just look on 2 parts of the resolution. One is the fact that we will have the Pan-African flag flying at all of our sites during the month of February. I think that's the first time that has ever happened. So I want to say thank you to OASA and to the school district for making sure that that can happen. Secondly, I want to to congratulate all of those schools who put up their banner, and I would like to encourage those schools who did not put up their banner with their specific site name saying that they support Black history. Little things mean a lot to a people who have been neglected, denied, and marginalized for their entire existence in this country. So if you are a site that has not put up the banner on your fence outside, please do that. Please recognize that that means a lot to your students, your families, and your communities. So I would encourage you to do that. Dr. Hurst, I would also like to have a summary from OASA after Black History Month because of all the programs that are happening that we just passed in the resolution, all the ways that sites are commemorating Black History Month. And I want to be clear, Black History Month in February is just the anniversary. Black history is American history. So every single time you talk about American history, you should be talking about Black people and their contribution to the history of America. So again, Black History Month of February is the anniversary, but Black history should be every single month in our schools, and we should see it in our curriculum. We should see it in the presentations that students are doing in history class and in English class and in science class and in math class, because we are American history. Dr. Hurst, President Gonzalez-Hoy, I'm complete. I have other comments at the end of the night if we are able to get there.
Thank you so much, Clerk Smith-Folds. So I don't see any more hands up. But for my comment, I just want to thank both you and Trustee Phillips. I agree with everything you both said. Trustee Phillips, Clerk Smith-Folds, and Trustee Christian actually requested that we write a policy around this. So staff is actually currently working on that. So please, you're welcome to share that with families, and we'll figure out when it's coming to the board as well. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. There's a motion on the floor. Let's move to a vote. Tonight, we're starting with Trustee Baron.
Baron, yes.
Thank you, Trustee Santos.
Santos, yeah.
Trustee Christian.
Trustee Christian, yes.
Trustee Phillips.
Yes.
Trustee Reckler.
Reckler, yes.
Clerk Smith-Folds.
Smith-Folds, yes.
And I'm a yes. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we are now moving to consent items. Board, are there any items that anyone would like to pull? Okay, since I don't see any hands, without objection, we will move for approval. So approved. Thank you. Okay, we are now going to move to our superintendent report. Dr. Hurst, I'll pass to you.
Thank you, sir. We're going to ask if we could bring up the report, please. And while we're bringing up the report, I want to just share with the board, you were included in this email from student Ashton. He's a fifth grader at Mira Vista. And I wanted to start off in celebrating Black History Month with the video that he created. And hopefully you had the opportunity to watch it, so it'd be more for staff here and the public. But he did a really nice job talking about African-American history and culture and what he wanted to see in the school district during his time here. So if we can just pay attention to the video, which is on the next slide, please.
My name is Ashton. I'm doing a Black History and Culture project, but before I talk to you about that, like I previously stated, my name is Ashton Among, and I'm a fifth grader at Mira Vista Elementary and basketball. I love movies like Black Panther, and I truly love politics. And I hope you enjoy the work I've been doing on Black history and culture and how it can be improved. Thank you. My project is trying to understand from students what can be improved and what they think can be taught about Black history and culture. This is important to me because representation is power, and Black and multicultural studies are very important for all students. So So let me tell you about the research I've been doing while I've been connecting with my fellow fifth grade peers. I conducted a 4-question e-survey asking fifth grade students at my school questions like, what do you want to learn about Black history and culture? What have you learned about Black history and culture? Which ways do you want to learn about Black history and culture? And what can be improved about the teaching of Black history and culture in school? 41 students responded. I also did some really deep diving and research about what subjects and people could be taught in schools. I learned about great historical figures like Mansa Musa, Katherine Johnson, Victor J. Glover, and other people who have changed the world. Let me tell you about the majority of students who participated. The majority of students at 67.5% were Latinx and Black students, and 32.5% identified as white, Asian, Pacific Islander, and other. Let me tell you something important. Let me tell you about the majority of how students rated the teaching of Black history and culture in school. So the majority of fifth graders rated the teaching of Black history and culture in schools as excellent and great. So as you can see on the screen, I learned that fifth graders really think that the teaching of Black history and culture is excellent and good. However, when I asked them the question to share what they learned about Black history and culture, here's an overview of most responses. It tells me what they learned is very limited or doesn't have a lot of depth beyond Dr. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and slavery, which is, my opinion, is not enough for fifth graders and students, period. I think they should have a broader view of the knowledge of Black history and culture, and I think they should know more.
Just as I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
I also learned about what and how students want to learn about Black history and culture. Most fifth graders ranked as their first choice Black people in history and important Black people today. As their second and third choices, fifth graders want to learn about Black culture and media and important Black creations. Students didn't really want to learn about ancient African civilizations and social justice movements. These things are of interest to me and probably some other fifth graders, but I realize they're not as interesting to everyone. Thank you. Let me tell you the ways fifth graders want to learn about Black history and culture. Fifth graders want to learn about Black history and culture through guest speakers, videos, and movies, and books. What I have taken from that is they want to learn from people they don't see every day. One of the options I had was classroom instruction, but this wasn't as popular. They want to learn from TV shows and guest speakers. To learn about Black people they don't commonly know, like Fred Hampton, a young activist and chairman of the Black Panther Party in Chicago, who was sadly assassinated at the young age of 21 years old. Or Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa was the ruler of the Kingdom of Mali from 1312 CE to 1337 CE. During his reign, Mali was one of the richest kingdoms of Africa, and Mansa was among the richest individuals in the world. Another great person that I want kids to learn about is Rosalind Brewer. Rosalind Brewer is the CEO of Walgreens and former COO of Starbucks and the former CEO of Sam's Club. Or the great Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett. Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett is the lead scientist on the COVID-19 Moderna vaccine. These Black figures represent the ways that African Americans continue to persevere, succeed, and create changes despite racism, oppression, and social injustice. Students will be inspired to know that they can succeed in this world and do amazing things.
She cannot be a hidden figure. She needs to be in textbooks. Little girls need to see her of all races. This is what's possible.
My recommendations is that I want to see broader representation of Black history and culture taught throughout grade levels. I recommend we start with what students shared they're interested in, which is Black people in history and important Black people today, Black culture media and important Black creations, and then expand the teaching of Black history and culture to have a broader view. We could also connect Black culture to the teaching of science and math, like the Black woman at NASA whose math calculations led to the first man in space. Let's start with guest speakers on Zoom and then in person, and then show videos and movies that are directed by Black people. We can focus on Black Author Book Club with guest speakers who answer questions about their books. Schools should take action now more than ever because we shouldn't have the next generation not learning about Black history and culture.
Very simple. When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, say something, do something, get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble.
Ashton, I just want to say thank you for watching my presentation on Black history and culture and why it's important to be taught in schools. I really hope you learned a lot from it because I know I did. There's so many great Black people that should be taught and hopefully that will be taught, and I hope that you try to advocate for Black history and culture to be taught in schools. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching this presentation, and I hope you have an amazing day.
Wasn't he just amazing, board? Amazing, amazing young man. And I just want to share with you, we've had the opportunity to talk to his parents. We did get permission to share his video. I've talked to Ashton as well. We've been communicating back and forth. I'll actually be visiting Mira Vista this Friday at 8:30 for any board member that has time that wants to come visit with me. We're actually going to have the comms team there, and we're also going to have Ed Services there as well. This young man has a vision, and I really want to listen to his vision more in detail, but not just him, other students also. So I just thought it was really important for me to share this video with really the public. So thank you for allowing me to share that. Next slide. And before we lift up Coach Barbara Lewis, I wanted to just share some information. There were some comments made about DLI. There was also some comments made about West County Mandarin. Thank you so much for sharing your comments. I am listening intently to you. My team as well. We're going back and sharing also. We know we have a meeting with West County Mandarin next Wednesday. I'll be facilitating that meeting with all of you. So thank you for those who are here and sharing your voice. Also want to share with you that the president already shared that it will be agendized for the 2:15 board meeting. That's the conversation for DLI, including Spanish and Mandarin. But I also want to share with you there's another DLI meeting that's happening Thursday, February the 9th. That's from 4 to 5:30 p.m. And I did talk with communications, and they will be sending out another notice for all of those who want to be involved in that conversation. So again, the one on February the 9th from 4 to 5:30, important DLI conversation, and then another one on the 15th for that board meeting. And so I wanted to take the opportunity, and this was shared by a board member, and we have Coach Barbara Lewis, who is honored, and we wanted to just honor her publicly before all of you as well. Coach Barbara Lewis has been a jewel in the tennis community, helping students of all backgrounds for over 30 years. Many of her students have played at the University of Texas, USF, Cal Berkeley, Holy Names, UC Santa Cruz, Ottawa, Mills, Oberlin University, and Ohio. And Coach Lewis has inspired strength and self-reliance in generations of ECHS tennis players. And she has a saying, I can help them get to college and play. And after that, it's on them. So we wanted to lift up her name and honor Coach Barbara Lewis for all of her efforts. Next slide. I wanted to share with you the strategic planning. I know this was mentioned by some board members, and I know Trustee Phillips mentioned this last board meeting as well. So I just wanted to come back and just share with the board the timeline. The first couple of slides is work that we've done, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. That's the equity analysis. And then the core planning that happened. If you can go to the next slide, please. This next slide, again, is work that has happened the first year I came on board, guiding coalition meetings, strategic planning sessions as well. And next slide. So what I wanted to share with you where we are now is really at the point is we've taken some feedback from the board regarding the draft statements of the mission and vision. I had opportunity to share this with the board in closed session yesterday, and we want to, by the end of March, make sure that we have an approval from the board and their continued feedback, but we're saying by the end of March, having approval by the board on the mission and vision, and then really solidifying our equity work. I will share with you that that timeline is actually being pushed up. And this goes to what Trustee Phillips was saying as well, what's happening in the Black present with our students. And also we heard Markeith Anderson come to speak, and he held up the banner that said, "We stop, you stop." So I wanted to let you know, I've also shared this with our student trustees, that is really important for us to dig into this conversation. We've met with RISE over this past week, and we're looking at opportunities to start engaging with staff as a district. And we're really starting to have this conversation, wanting to have this conversation immediately. We've talked to RISE also about the work that we want to do about anti-racist stances, what we will not tolerate. I mentioned that at our last board meeting as well, and our equity statement also. So all that timeline is being pushed up. So even though it says middle of April, that's being pushed up earlier, all of that work. And then we're finalizing our grad profile work by the end of May. LCAP has to be finalized by June the 30th. So really looking at our goals and solidifying our goals going into next year by June the 30th, and then finalizing the strategic plan by the end of July. Next slide. And then I share with you that I would come back with Goal 1. I did have the opportunity to share this with the board, but if you remember, I left out Goal 1 in my last presentation. So I did want to share with you that we are focusing on literacy as a district. The overall goals is to increase overall all student and student subgroup literacy proficiency by 5 percentage points by the end of June. So what you'll see over the next few slides is how we've disaggregated the data and focusing on early literacy, so upper and lowercase, letter recognition, and increasing that by 5 percentage points for all groups. Next slide. You also see that we're focusing on literacy using an iReady assessment, being assessed 3 times per year. We're in an assessment window right now, so we'll be able to find out shortly after the window closes, February the 17th. And we'll be bringing that information back to the board and to the public as well. So on this slide, you can see K through 8, where the baseline data is and where our target is as well. Next slide. This slide represents a portion of our students that's using the STAR early literacy assessment, and the same goal, increasing literacy by 5 percentage points by each of those student groups, African American, EL, SPED, Hispanic, but all students as well. And then at the bottom, you'll see grades 2 through 11, using the STAR reading assessment, again, increasing proficiency and literacy by 5 percentage points. And then finally, we have a goal also by the end of this year, increasing reclassification of fluent English proficiency, those number of students by 100. So we just wanted to come back and share that goal with you as well. And that concludes the superintendent report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hurst. Board, why don't we go to questions? Again, we have 3 questions per board member. Does anyone have any questions? Clerk Smith-Foltz, go ahead.
Dr. Hurst, my first question is, can we please push back the meeting at Mira Vista to 9 or 9:15 so I'm able to get there because I have to drop my own kids off at school in the morning?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Thank you. My second question is, can the board get an invite to the West County Mandarin next Wednesday?
Absolutely. We just finalized the time as we speak, so we'll make sure we'll get that to the board.
Thank you so much. President Gonzalez-Hoy, everything else is a comment. I'm complete.
Thank you. Any other questions? Trustee Phillips?
So Dr. Hurst, you've been here for a couple of years now. So you've heard like this young man talk about Black history and Black studies. And in other ethnic heritage months, the same thing comes up where people are saying, we want more. This was going on before you got here. When you got here, there was a discussion that the board was having about actually having a formalized ethnic studies program. So my question is, and I said that for context, my question is, has there been any progress on having a formalized ethnic studies program that does not just teach Black history, but other histories as well throughout the district? Has that stopped? Has it not stopped? Where is it? Those are 3 questions, President Gonzalez-Hoy.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to ask Larisha weigh in on this, but I will say this to you, Trustee Phillips. That's certainly why I want to talk to this young man and other voices as well. I think I've heard that when I first got here. I think that's certainly a vision that we want legitimate ethnic studies program across our district. I know that we have some of that happening across the district, but I'm gonna let you, Larisha, talk a little bit about the vision.
Good evening, Trustee Phillips. So currently we do have ethnic studies offered at some of our high schools. However, we are also, Director Gabriel Chilcott is in the process of doing a history curriculum adoption, which includes ethnic studies. So that committee is formed and currently meeting and looking at ethnic studies curriculum adoption. So by next school year, we will have that in place in West Contra Costa. We also received some funding for schools to do additional ethnic studies work and incorporate ethnic studies within their current curriculum, history curriculum. And schools were allocated those dollars this school year as well. And we do have schools, for example, Richmond High, that has an ethnic studies class that's currently being offered.
Is there any other questions, board? Yes, Trustee Santos.
This is just because I know you mentioned wanting to hear more from other students. Would it be helpful if because I know we're starting up all student congress, if during student congress we had these types of conversations to then bring back to you guys about how ethnic studies can be pitched better? Because I know this is from an elementary schooler and it's a great insight on elementary schools, but I know with ASC, we also talk to middle schoolers and high schoolers. And just curious if that is something that you guys want us to address there as well.
So absolutely, thank you for bringing that up. And then also we talked either today or yesterday about the conversation at Student Congress about we stop, you stop, and how your voices will carry over to the other students as well. So absolutely, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Are there any comments? Clerk Smith-Foltz, I think you're the only one. Go ahead.
I think that it would, I would be remiss.
I'm so sorry, Clerk Smith-Foltz, please accept my apology. We're waiting on the clock.
That's okay.
Okay. Thank you. Please go ahead.
I would be remiss not to say out loud that what we just saw was Black excellence from a 5th grader. We know that this young man is not a unicorn. There are more students of Black and African descent that are excellent in everything that they do. We need to search them out. We need to encourage them to speak out, and we need to be willing and able to be their support system. We are losing Black students. It's an exodus of Black students leaving the district, and we need to stop that bleeding now. They do not feel seen or heard, and that is our fault. So I would like to say again that this young man should sit at the forefront of conversations about what it looks like to receive Black history, which is American history. So again, I thank you. I thank the young man. I think that he is an absolute beautiful example of our students and what they can do. I want to make sure that we mention that there's pain for Black students at every site, Dr. Hurst. We hear it at every site. But I would also be remiss not to mention El Cerrito High School, the young lady that came last week that told us about her pain and what's happening. We have to be able to recognize and provide resources for the students that we are actively harming. I am complete.
Thank you so much, Clerk Smith-Folds. Trustee Phillips, go ahead. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let us wait on the time. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the update on the formalized ethnic studies program. I didn't have any more questions, but I was a little unclear. I'm not asking a question now. I'm just dropping a note. I was a little unclear if the curriculum adoption was for a formalized district-wide program, or if it was just for more classes. Because we have classes which are great, but that's not what I've been talking about and others have been talking about. People have been talking about a formal program that spreads throughout the district. So at some point, it would be nice if that could be clarified, but also knowing that something is coming, it would be great to actually have a board presentation so the board can see it and the community can see what is actually coming, so people can have input, because this is something that people have been asking for, honestly, for decades, right? This predates any of us, right? This is none of our ideas. We're just carrying a baton that somebody else handed to us. So it would be fantastic to actually get a board presentation where everybody could kind of weigh in to see where we're going and if it's in the right direction.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Phillips. So I do have a comment, so I'll just wait for the clock. Thank you. So one thing is that, Dr. Hurst, I appreciate you showing us your goal number 1. I think it's ironic that on the celebration of African American History Month, right, we are also looking at this horrible data, right? That shows that we're failing our African American students and our EL students, right? And I don't want to minimize the celebration, but I think this is the urgency of the work, right? Because we are failing Black and Brown students, not just culturally from what we heard and what we're hearing from our sites about the use of the N-word and other things, but academically, right? So this is why I think we get out of bed every day to do this work, but we have to push the envelope, right? So I thank you for sharing that. And you know, it push us to continue to put everything centrally on how it affects our Brown and Black students, right? Because if we are able to uplift them, we'll uplift the whole district, right? And then, you know, I also agree about ethnic studies. I think it's so important. I'm so glad to hear from Ms. Huffman about the work Mr. Shilcott's doing. We have some amazing ethnic studies. You know, El Cerrito has women's studies. Richmond High has Latinx studies. Kennedy has Black studies, right? I heard Pinole Valley High School has Asian studies. Like, there are these pockets of success, and we just had to be able to replicate them district-wide. So that's really exciting. Thank you so much. All right, board, let's move to our first discussion item. We are moving to F1, which is the English Learner Master Plan. And I believe Director Orozco is it his item? And Ms. Huffman, is it your item?
Thank you, President Gonzalez-Hoy. Last year, the Office of English Learner Achievement began a 2-year process to update the master plan for English learners, initially created in 2014. The process included 3 goals: to bring the master plan to state compliance, to create a process for continuous master plan review and input from principals, teachers, and parents, and to create and align new district vision goals with the California English Learner Roadmap. In this report discussion item, my director, Isaú Orozco, for the English Learner Achievement Department, will present on how the above goals are demonstrated in the 22-23 master plan version and next steps for 23-24. At this time, I'll have Mr. Orozco lead the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, board, president, community. I also just want to mention that I do hear all the voices today, voices around DLI, English learners, and multilingual students. And I hope to make some connections with the master plan for English learners, the updated version as well, and invite you to the following sessions. The first question, next slide, please.
Director Orozco, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Could we have the sound up in the room, please?
Testing
Sorry
1, 2.
about that.
Is that better?
Just give us 1 second, sorry. I'll let you know when it's ready, sorry. Okay, go ahead, try it now.
Let me try my teacher voice over here.
There you go, that's perfect.
Is that better?
Thank you. Trustee Reckler, is that good? Can you, sorry, Mr. Orozco, can you say something for us?
Hello, good evening, everyone.
A little bit more. Sorry, can you say that again?
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, okay. That's good. Thank you so much. Sorry about that.
Did you guys catch any of that, or are we starting from square one?
It's okay, you can continue.
Okay. Thank you, folks, again, for this time to focus on the master plan for English learners, 22-23 version. Next slide. We always begin with a why. Why master plan for English learners? Next slide, please. And our why really connects to who we are as a district. Our population of English learners in our district is 8,323 and counting. Our English learner population shifts by week. Currently, we're 31.8% district-wide. I'll let that set in. And then I want to emphasize another percentage of students. 51.4% of all students district-wide have participated in the English learner journey. This occurs when we include English learners who have been reclassified fluent English proficient, or initial fluent English proficient, or are recently enrolled TBDs in terms of we haven't identified their placement quite yet within the first 30 days. So looking at our population, over 50%, that's why it's so important. The state, no, this is not a requirement, but it's so vital to understand the clear plan and systems for English learner achievement. Next slide. Now, Ms. Larissa mentioned a little bit of the history, and I'm going to add the next 2 points in terms of the vision, our current place right now, our 2023 in the vision, mission, alignment process. And then also in terms of how a master plan is supposed to work. Because there's a major gap of information between 2014 for 2022. That's almost 10 years. A master plan really is a living document that's updated every single year and shared in places like here in terms of those major updates. So everyone's in tune with the changes that have occurred district-wide for our English learners. Next slide. So where can we find this master plan? Currently, I know we've shared out links. Currently, it is on the district webpage under the Department of Multilingual Multicultural Achievement. And in this offering, there's a lot of links, folks. So that was one of the recommendations that came in terms of being able to review this easier. But if there's a document that is unopened, it can also be a teacher document, just to make that very clear. Next slide. Our current goals, next slide please, have been mentioned at the proceeding, but we should reemphasize what our priorities were in these first 2 years in terms of updating. The first one was to really assure that state and federal, and it complies to all our standards. In order to go beyond, we have to meet the minimum. 2, we'll review how we included teachers, principals, and parents and community members as best as possible in this process. And then 3, our connection with our current district vision and process, and our connection with the California EL roadmap that was adopted in 2018. So let's focus on goal 1. Next slide. How did we bring the current master plan up to code? Next slide. There are 5 current bullet points. And of course, if we went page by page or link by link, it would be about a 2-hour session. So we're trying to re-review the big highlights and changes in the plan that occurred within the last year. One was assessments. Major shifts in terms of state assessments from the old CELT to the new LPAC. That one was easily cleared. Reclassification criteria. This time last year, around the same period, we updated the reclassification criteria. I think most members here remember that, which included a special education criteria and assessments alignments, such as aligning to the STAR in the middle school, high school stages. Third bullet point is high school ELD courses. There's 8 additional ELD courses at the high school level that have a little bit more of a focus of newcomer and more of a focus of LTEL at-risk needs. These courses were not in the plan, and they are now in the plan with descriptions and recommendations for high schools. The fourth is elevation. Now, elevation, hopefully some folks know here, was adopted here this year and last year in terms of our data points. It is really the tool that we use now in order to measure growth, communicate growth, and it's even now a strategy platform on how to focus teacher instruction to specific student English learner instruction. And then lastly is Assembly Bill 2121, which is super important in terms of informing folks that we're required to inform eligible immigrant newcomer students who transfer in our district after their 2nd year of high school, that they're eligible, if needed, to a 5th year in order to graduate. So that's been incorporated into the master plan, of course, into other documents as well. For example, the annual notification letter to all English learners, and that's described in the master plan as well. Next slide. Some next steps. Now, remember that living documents piece. As our district shifts and changes in terms of alignment assessments, we have to evolve with it, especially within the master plan. So in terms of that reclassification process, as our district shifts into a district-wide language and local assessment, then that's going to come up. So that's up on the road, on the horizon per se. Expansion of course offerings. So these can be course offerings that are going at the middle school, at the high school level in terms of partnering with school sites, master schedules, and the course offerings that best fit their English learners in order to be able to have more A through G courses, elective or English courses for college. And 3, communication is key. Oftentimes the master plan is almost like a book on your old stool. It's a bit dusty, but this should be an ongoing conversation and and connectedness with the notifications already going out, and almost a bit of a handbook for teachers and like counselors who talk to students on a daily basis and frequently with families as well. Goal 2. Next slide. Our process currently. Next slide. Now to launch this process last year, we opened an application pool for everyone district-wide. And there was 10 members that committed to this process. Most of them were principals, and there was a handful of teachers and no parents. Pardon me. Because we wanted to expand communication, we began to present portions of the master plan to committees like the MDAC committee and the teacher leader, English learner COP, communities of practice team. And also, and in my opinion, the most important, we had student listening sessions at night sites that included 36 students. The sites were elementary, middle school, and high school. And we really focused on the English learner experience in terms of their experience in terms of entry, process, schooling, and goals. And lastly, it's also very important to know that we're not at this alone. So this process, even though it's in-house this year, we're not using a consultancy, but we're partnering with the English Learner Master Plan Institute, COP, offered by the ELRISE and the California Department of Education. And they're also in a 2-year process along with us. This best assures that we're not winging it, and our work and the quality and quality is of a high value. Next slide. Some next steps. In this process, we also found out there was a lot missing. Now, just because we had a master plan in 2014 doesn't mean it was just an easy update. We had to really circle and prioritize some next steps. And you'll see some important items here that were voiced today. So I'm so happy about those voices. One is DLI and that EL intersection and the foundational piece, how DLI and English language learners connect and how they work together to really meet that achievement. A clear newcomer model. Now, within the plan, there's also versions of newcomer plans, but there's no clear comparison between district-wide support and a school site model. So a very clear process on what central offices does and what schools do together to best support students. And lastly, at-risk and long-term LTEL model. And kind of goes along in the same way where, yes, we're all kind of doing it here and there, but where is the long-term vision, partnership, and commitment to a process? Now, of course, I say this because even though it's not written on paper, we are still working ahead. So I'm excited to talk a little bit about those points as well, but it's not in the plan currently. And see the plan more of what we've agreed on already versus what we're planning to do. Next slide. And our last goal is to create and align our vision. Next slide. And this is important because some of that vision is already there, but we're also creating one currently district-wide, which is so important for our vision to connect with a district vision. There are many items that coincide automatically in terms of equity and purpose and student identity, and also to coincide language. Language is so important in terms of the California roadmap. You'll notice a lot of that language is within the newer version of the master plan. And a little bit of that language, next slide, comes from the committees. Next slide, please. Especially one that I wanted to share from the student sessions, which mentioned the shift to use the term multilingual student as an umbrella term for emergent bilingual students and English learners. So maybe next time we have this meeting, you'll notice that the MPEL is going to be an MPEL ML component, really using that umbrella term. Next slide. Once again, we come back to this general page. Remember, on the district webpage. And I think we are ready for questions, comments, and of course, recommendations.
Thank you so much, Director Orozco. Board, we are now moving to questions. As I mentioned, you're able to ask up to 5 questions for this section. Is there anybody that has questions? I already see Trustee Reckler, Trustee Clerk Smith-Folds. Okay, we'll start with Trustee Reckler and then we'll go to Clerk Smith-Folds.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. I want to thank, can you hear me? Okay. I want to thank you for the presentation. I want to thank everybody who's worked on the plan. And then I also need some forgiveness because you were a little bit muffled. So if you talked about this and I didn't hear it, I really apologize in advance. You can just say that you covered it and I'll watch the video and figure out what you said later. So the first question I have is, when I look at your plan, were there topics like in your plan, how much free range do you have to choose the topics that are in your plan? And what I really mean to ask is that I looked at a couple of others and some plans had sections on funding, Title III. One plan had a section on special ed students. So I'm curious how you came up with what you came up with.
Through the committee process. And what we did was, you'll notice the table of contents. So we kind of developed a table of contents. We did look at other master plans in our process. In fact, even this year, we come up with new table of content topics. Like, can we add another chapter? Can we add another chapter, which is very good. And then we just begin to prioritize, for example. One that came up that wasn't mentioned, I didn't bring it up, was just access for courses for English learners was also highlighted within the conversations this year. But this plan was from the conversations last year and throughout the summer. So it's almost like these year's conversations are not demonstrated on this plan because it's the living document, and that plan will be demonstrated at the beginning of next year, if that makes sense. So yes, we have some of those comments as well.
Okay. And then can you describe some of the supports for English language learner? I don't know how many of these we have, but can you describe, if you know how many, and how English language learners that are enrolled in DLI programs are supported? And I was reading some stuff about the West County Mandarin School, and it occurred to me that we actually could have a student that was a native Spanish speaker who was learning Mandarin, but was also an ELL learning English. And it kind of blew my mind that we might actually have students like that.
So in any DLI program, English learners are still allowed access to ELD. So that doesn't ELD time under the law is still required. And that has to be a conversation with a parent that they want to not receive those services on an annual basis. It's called the DELS process, a different English learner setting. So that answered that particular question. In terms of the EL balancing of population, that's a little bit of that DLI master plan component is, how can we best name the importance of English learners and how they influence, affect, and are essential to DLI programming, period, across the board in all classrooms. So student conversations are stronger. And those are the small conversations we're having in the DLI committee as well. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit, Leslie. And every school has a different type of population versus district-wide. So a certain DLI school might have a very small English learner population, which should bring a question mark in terms of what can we do to recruit. and other schools might have more English learners. And what can we do to balance those courses? Because DLI is pretty founded on that essential Spanish English conversation or Mandarin English conversation to build upon each other.
Okay, thank you. Does the board ever have to adopt this?
It always helps when the board adopts it. These are items that are in place. It definitely needs to adopt it when it comes to an FPM review. Oftentimes, even though it's not required, we can use a master plan to demonstrate that this is a public document showing the current plans and implementations at the district. So that's why I would recommend a board adoption for the future.
Okay. And just to follow up to that, you don't have to answer it now, but are you ready now? I mean, like, is this your time? Is your work complete? Is there more to do, like, after listening to us, maybe?
My understanding is the board can adopt a document. According to the state, this is the living document. So as long as we renew, and when we do renew it, it's again presented at the school board. It can be once again voted upon. In my opinion, it should be something that's done every single year because it is a living document, and the board adopts that type of culture versus just the document. That would be my personal preference, but that is not written in the master plan in terms of my preferences.
Okay, I think that was, oh, that was 4. All right, my last question, then I do have a bunch of comments, is do you intend to translate this into Spanish and into other languages, or how do those populations access the language in their home language?
Great question. Currently, the Spanish version is not on the website. We have translated, and that's how we've communicated and shared at the MDAC in pieces. So there's so many links, we kind of break out the presentations. We need to gather it and translate it with one specific link on the website. So portions are translated and other portions are not yet translated. The translations are in the works. So the answer is yeah, we plan to translate it completely.
Okay, thank you very much. And at the end, I have some comments.
Thank you, Trustee Reckler. Clerk Smith-Foltz, you'll be next.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I do have a couple of questions, and you did ask for suggestions, so I do have a suggestion also. So the suggestion will come in comments. This is just my questions. So let me make sure that I understand this. And here's the question. When we talk about the buckets of languages in WCCUSD, if we talk about language as a bucket, we have one bucket is our multilingual, bilingual students, right? They're in one bucket. And then we have our dual immersion students who are in one under this kind of umbrella in one bucket. And then we have our English language learners. And do I have that accurate? Is there a bucket that I'm missing under our languages?
So I guess I would ask you to almost repeat that to assure that I understood your buckets. Okay. And maybe the table might be better in terms of that bucket presentation. The reference is almost in terms of an umbrella. So if you think of multilingual in terms of the overall umbrella, everyone fits under that umbrella. And there's not as much stigma under that multilingual umbrella. If you're under that multilingual umbrella, then you have English learners, RFEP, IFEP, all those students, and then including dual language immersion, DLI students, multilingual, immersion, bilingual. And within that bucket, then you also kind of mentioned that our English only students who've decided to join the DLI programs. And that's why that's the preference, especially coming from our students in our sessions as well. Hopefully that clears that message.
That also includes our high school students who are on A to G credit path who have to have another language to graduate high school. Is that true?
I guess it would depend potentially. That would be a reach, I would say. Under the documentation of the state, I don't think it's described in that manner.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And then I would like to know what is happening with the retention, recruitment, the resources and support for Black students who are in DLI, ELL, and under multilingual experience, right? Because we have Black students that come to our district who speak Arabic, right? We have Black students that come to our district and speak Spanish. We have Black students that come to our district and speak Portuguese. And so when we're looking at these programs, is there intentionality about the recruitment and retention and the resources and supports for these students? We know that Washington Elementary School has had a mass exodus of Black students no longer in those programs, in that program. Have we done a deep dive as to why, and then turned around and then added the resources and supports to call those students back?
I guess there's two buckets there. One is the English learner bucket. So there are African American students for English learners and Black students for English learners as well under the English learner bucket. Their experiences can be the same and different, of course, because of who they are. And in terms of a specific focus in terms of culture, our programs are not set up in that manner. So they're really focused on that language support. And we do the best possible to incorporate everyone. I know our office supports families at all levels, at all sites. In terms of the reach out of DLI programs, there is a specific balance. So DLI programs, the goal of a strong DLI program is to have a student language balance. And that's a DLI conversation that it occurs between school sites in terms of planning, recruiting, and balancing classrooms. So there is a lot of balancing going on, especially in terms of planning your instructional focus and how to pinpoint and support particular student subgroups.
Thank you so much. President Gonzalez-Hoy, those are all my questions because they were kind of 3 and 2 and 1, you know? So only thing I have left are comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Smith-Folds. Trustee Phillips, you're next.
Thank you. So our programs have had a lot of fits and starts and then pauses and stops, right? Over the years, and not so much at the site level is what I'm speaking about, but I'm talking about kind of downtown and the overarching kind of leadership of the program. And so my question to you, and I'm very glad that you're in this role, but my question to you is, what is different? And that question may seem like there's no aggression in that question at all. What I'm looking for is for you to be able to explain to the board, and more importantly to the public, right? What's different about this time around, and particularly with you in the role as well. And I get it that nothing, you know, is successful because it's one person doing it, but how can we, or how do you reassure the public that we are finally on the right track and without all of the things that have happened in the past?
I think I lost a little bit of your question, Mr. Phillips. I think my internet went in and out, or I'm being muffled a little bit on my end. I think I caught most of your question, if that's okay, if I can reply. Okay. What's different? Sustainability is key for growth. Everyone, I mean, that's a big part of the game plan. And in order to review a plan and follow through with a plan, some players need to stay with the plan. It has a lot to do with that teacher connected in terms of success. Folks, I'm here to stay. I'm not trying to go anywhere. And in terms of vision, so we're making partners in terms of our instruction, state, county, within schools. These plans are done not with one person in mind, but interconnectedly. We don't work solo in our district. We work with outside members and with school sites as well. And then lastly, big picture. All of our time and investments, we're looking at resources, realistically speaking, in terms of what resource can we bring that all teachers can use in order to support each specific student with their particular language needs. And that's a big shift in terms of asking and game planning and focusing on what you're purchasing and not purchasing. If we can do that within the next 5 years, then our newcomers are being served in every classroom. We're going to see that growth and sustainability. If those resources are there, that's really the big time picture in terms of what should be implemented in these plans. So I mentioned long-term English learners. We ask how are they being served at the central offices. The game plan is that they're being served everywhere. And every teacher is trained, office member is trained to be able to give that service to the highest quality.
Thank you for that. In your presentation, you mentioned your preference around board culture and things coming to the board. I don't ask this question facetiously, and I know that there are a lot of needs and wants in the district. But what do you see, right? If you were to like list the top 3 things, right? And people like to, mention things that cost money. Maybe it costs money, maybe it doesn't, but maybe it's cultural, maybe it costs, I don't know what it is. But if you were to list the top 3 things that you think the board, or I don't even just say the board, that the district, right? Us as a unit that we could do to actually help move this work along faster. And I don't mean rushing, but I just mean more expeditiously.
Well, there were 3 items in terms of plans that were brought up in terms of next steps that within the committee, we've almost reached the consensus to prioritize. Those 3 items were a long-term at-risk plan, a newcomer bigger plan versus just a school sites or in terms of 2 school sites. And then, of course, the intersection of DLI and what that means. Yes, there are funding issues and concerns that we need to revisit, and resources and priorities we have to agree on for those commitments. Some of those items are within the master plan in terms of if this, then that. Where should this teacher go? Should they be prioritized to a newcomer course versus this course? So some of those items are within the master plan. But when it comes to district-wide partnerships, in terms of just looking at the budget and assuring that we're keeping to the plan. That's when the question was asked in terms of culture. It's not about a one-time deal. It's a long-term vision that needs to be accepted and revisited on an annual basis to assure that this is happening. So hopefully I answered your question a little bit to why that was my response and my preference. And I mentioned those 3 particular goals.
You did, and I want to drill down a little bit, and I think at the end you hit on something in particular with the board, right? Because you talked about making sure that our budget is aligning with the plan, right? So that's us. Are there other particular things that you think, going from the macro district wide, but micro down to the board, that you think you would like? So I see 2 things, right? The plan coming back yearly, and then now, making sure that we're budgeting to.
As we review budget, and there's an LCAP meeting coming up. 4th, I know there's a lot of these items that aren't only financial. I hate to bring this conversation up timely wise. Teachers are so important, and that's a conversation that doesn't be had. These programs thrive for the teachers that we have. When there are no teachers, our programs truly suffer. The curriculum does not suffice, and teachers and training and that focus of training is essential so they're prepared to serve students as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate your presentation. I appreciate the work that you do, that you've been doing for years. So, right on.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Orozco, I do have a few questions myself. I have 4 questions for you. The first 3 are kind of micro about your second desire or goal around newcomers. So the first one's about how are we prioritizing newcomers in our district, both in elementary and secondary?
There, in many ways. The first way is, of course, we prioritize their testing. So every student comes in, some students come in with a prior assessment, and newcomers come in with sometimes absolutely no assessments. So yes, there's a list, but in terms of assessments, we have to prioritize folks who have the least amount of information to determine what kind of support and placement they need. That's something that obviously is clearly part of our process, and we figure out how to calendar those needs. Those services are done at the office during the school summer, but we also go to the school sites, because remember, our priority is to have our students, English learners, language should not be a barrier to be enrolled at the school. So we will go to them. That's been a main stride from our office for a couple of years now. Two is, sometimes we just provide some of the basics that make students smile from cheek to cheek. So in the last couple, this year and a little bit of last year, we began to give newcomer backpacks again, and not just backpacks. Backpacks, materials, tools, resources, and with interpreters. So like electronic interpreters for multiple languages that students could use, not only with their teachers and going to the library, but with each other. A newcomer class can sometimes have a variety of languages, and folks are making friends with other students who don't speak Spanish or English. And we've got a lot of positive feedback from that as well. Within those backpacks, we have resources for families in terms of where to go for legal help. And of course, our office also supports with those one-to-one referrals or when folks come to our office. In terms of the high school level, we begin a slight shift in terms of looking at our courses. This has been in the works for quite some time, but in the last year, as of last year, we really worked on creating English learner classes that are English A through G credit, which means that they have a higher access of credit to apply to the university, UC universities especially. So we really had that access lens. And then lastly, our professional development. As I mentioned, in terms of how can we really focus, elevation has been a huge purchase in terms of prioritizing how teachers can use that. Not only do we use it to monitor, but now we're training folks to use elevation in order to prioritize how to support specifically newcomer and at-risk students. And one example of that is that within elevation, there are newcomer instructional modules that are for all grade levels and all content areas as well. And the same thing goes for the LTO module as well. It's about a week's worth of training to complete that module, and then a whole year's worth of how to use lesson plans and standards and scaffolding in your classroom.
Thank you. Thank you for that. You actually answered one of my questions within your answer, so I appreciate it. My second question, let's go even deeper. So we have a newcomer student that shows up at one of our schools, right? Under this new plan, what happens, right? Because in the past, they're just enrolled into the class in that school or at that grade level, and they're stuck there, right? So what are we doing differently under this new plan for newcomer students in any grade level? You can pick any example.
And I want to clarify also that you mentioned a new plan. Of course, this plan is not written. This is almost a little bit of what's in the works. We don't wait for the master plan. I completely agree with that. We are doing things outside because we go beyond the master plan. And I also need, in order to go deeper and really give an honest reply, I need more details on the actual newcomer. And that's how detailed our office is. It's every newcomer has a very specific need. So our hopes is, number one, that the student is enrolled. That's number one. Okay, this is so important. Language is not a barrier. And sometimes we do get a call that says, you know what, we want to enroll. And we've kind of gone over that hump now. So now that we're there, that means that we've created a more inviting environment for students in terms of, yes, you're enrolled now, and now how further can I help you? And the response would really be depending on the grade, the need, the language, other criteria that would be shared with our office to determine what kind of support they need. Yeah, the partnership with the school, the newcomer backpacks, for example, they were given one by one, but realistically, the best way that it worked out was when we partnered with the school, had kind of a luncheon with students, kind of had a mini party, So it's a lot of those interworkings between how we partner with school sites to better serve students with their specific need, in this case, newcomers, for your question.
Okay, thank you. So I guess my last question is, we used to have a TBE program, and correct me if I'm wrong, 22 schools or 19 schools, something like that. I'm totally making up the number. I should have really looked it up. So correct me in your answer, but we had a lot of schools with TBE, which transitional bilingual education, right? And then we reduced that number on purpose because we wanted to increase dual immersion schools because the research showed that was better for students, right? Both that wanted to learn a new language and both that were learning English. But I'm hearing not all students get enrolled in DLI classes that are learning English, right? So what's happening to those students that are not newcomers, right? But they're ELs and they're not enrolling in DLI? What's happening to them?
Once again, it depends. In fact, that's a great question to address in the DLI committee, because it's one of the items that we've kind of decided to hide in terms of recruitment, enrollment, balancing classrooms, planning purpose of a school site. It's a larger question. We probably should look at data, and I invite you to the DLI meeting on the next one is on the 9th. And I also invite you to look at the DLI agendas. The MDEC and the DLI calendars are united on purpose because of this large partnership between MDEC and the DLI committee. And the agendas and slideshows are all posted there. And you'll notice that that's one of the topics about how can we ensure that, and we'll use this term, and hopefully it's now becoming a little bit more popular, that we're not a DLI light program. We want to be a DLI strong program. And that's really the conversation. How can we have a strong, sustainable program versus it's kind of DLI, what used to be TBE really, and now we kind of meshed it all together. So those are the conversations we're having in the DLI committee that I invite you and others to have. It's about an hour conversation at least, but we're definitely talking about that process. So we're not happy with the current process at all.
Thank you so much. I think that I just heard a new committee. We will be appointing probably a board member too, because that work is so important. Okay, I'm heading into my comments, but why don't we now go to comments from the board? Thank you, Mr. Orozco, for your presentation and all your answers. Now for this section, we have 2 minutes. Who would like to get us started? Trustee Reckler, why don't you get us started?
Okay, so once again, thank you very much. And I'm going to have to go back and screen because I couldn't hear very well. The first comment is if you could please put page numbers on the master plan, that would be really helpful. The second is my understanding is that DLI and everything related to DLI lives in this document in the ELL world as well, even though a particular person may not be an English language learner, but this is the repository of all of their the documents related to DLI. The third is a little bit of feedback, and I would like to see a section pulled out, or my recommendation is that you pull out a section that's just about goals, not goals about the plan, not what the plan does. There was a lot of talking about what the plan does, but what your goals are for ELLs. And I see lots of visioning and I see pieces of it, but to really put it together in its own section and to say, these are the 3 or the 5 things that we're really going to concentrate on. And it could be world-class professional development. It could be recruitment and retention to get B-clad educators. It could be supporting English language learner families, whatever those are. And I found a document that I'm going to send to you. It's actually on aging, which these people, they hired amazing people where they really understood what they were doing to make 5 goals extremely accessible with very few words. And I think it might be a good model just to pull together so that when anyone goes to the document, they're like, boom, this is what it's really about. And I thank you for the work, and I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Reckler. Trustee Clerk Smith-Folds, you can go next.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. You asked for suggestions. So Dr. Hurst, I would never give direction as one board member, but I do want to call your attention to something that makes my skin stand on end. When we use the word master in any of our presentations, we are moving away from that as a society. And here's just a reason why. Master can be a noun, an adjective, or a verb, and it has half a dozen definitions. Among those are an artist or performer. Another one is having authority over someone. So we could take the word master out and insert the word district plan for English learners, right? There's other ways, and I encourage your staff to have that conversation at your staff meeting about how do we limit or limit the word master when we're giving presentations and naming things. The other thing is I really want us to focus on our newcomers intentionally. We have a newcomer school, but maybe we need to expand that, right? We have a lot of newcomers that come to our district and they need support that some of our sites are just not able to give them, right? You will take a child who's from Spain and drop them into a class where the teacher doesn't speak the language, and it's now a balancing act. How do I encourage, engage, and relate to this child? The second one is I encourage all board members to go to the Washington Elementary School APAC. I have attended this APAC on a lot of occasions, almost every time they have it. It's a great APAC. APAC is the African American Parent Advisory Council. At Washington Elementary School, where there's a very small population of Black students, they have an amazing APAC. So I just want to name that. Finally, in my last 20 seconds, I want to talk about hiring, training, relatability. It is very important that we hire and we train our teachers in the multi-use of languages that we have in this district. As someone who does traffic every day, learning how to say come here in multiple language or stop, don't run in the street in multiple language is a life-saving tool. So if we're going to have our CSSs and our volunteers, let's train them in the languages of safety. Because like you said, Mr. Orozco, language should not be a barrier. Thank you so much, President Gonzalez-Hoy. I am complete.
Thank you, Clerk Smith-Folds. Trustee Phillips.
Thank you. So the reason I asked the questions around the fits and starts during the question period is because this is generational. So we talk about a lot of issues that affect African American students as being generational, but our English learner program is generational. And I'm not trying to conflate issues or people, but this is a fact. And so if we're talking about moving large amounts of students to more productive futures, to more integrated futures, to the types of profiles that we talk about when we talk about what we want our students to be, this is part of that. And I'm really happy that Mr. Orozco is in this position because I know he's from this community. And I know that he himself was an English learner student as well. And I know that he's dedicated to this, but this does have to be larger than him. And I know it is, but I emphasize this because if this is not done correctly, and it's not done correctly over time, every time we start over, we basically lose another group of students. And we have to stop losing students because it's not serving them. So thank you for this work and continuing it.
Thank you, Trustee Phillips. Okay, so for my comments, I think that one of the things that we do well in our district is that we have pockets of success, but we don't replicate them, right? So internationals programs at Richmond High is an incredible success of our district, right? That supports newcomers, that supports English language learners in the secondary level. Helms also, right? Grant has a great newcomer classes. But here's the thing that we don't do well, which is how can we replicate that to some of our other schools? Because I'll tell you all that even though I absolutely agree that this work takes time, my wife's class last year, she had 2 English language learners that she didn't speak the language to, and they were there all year, even though her husband is a board member, right? And she asked for support, right? Throughout the district. And the students couldn't get transferred, right? She couldn't get the support in the classroom, right? So those are 2 students that, I mean, I'll tell you all, teachers try their best, right? She would at home be crying because she didn't know how to support them. And I know that's what happens with many teachers in our district. And on top of that, how the student must feel, right? So we have to do more to support those situations, right? Because the response was, Grant is full. Of course, right? We have 1 class, right? But we have thousands of English language learners, right? So that's where I think us as a board can do more, right? To support the work that's happening. Mr. Orozco's team, right? Because there are students that are falling through the cracks. We heard it about Kennedy, right? Kennedy, it's not the first time we've heard it. We heard it last year too, right? Newcomers are falling through the cracks in the secondary level too, even though we have an amazing program at Richmond High, right? So what is falling through the crack, right? We have this amazing program, but students are failing and at a school that's 10 minutes away, right? So what can we do to connect the dots? Anyways, I do appreciate absolutely everything you're doing, Mr. Orozco. Don't let my comments make you feel like it's not appreciated. I just want to continue pushing. Thank you so much, everybody. We are now going to move to the next item.
Thank you.
Which is F2. Ms. Huffman, I think that this is also your item.
Thank you, President. I am now going to give an update on Virtual Academy. I want to acknowledge before I start that Principal McCormick is on Zoom. So if there are any questions regarding Vista Virtual, she will also support me in answering those. All right. So the first one, next slide. There's just some in-person photos. Principal McCormick put the slide deck together for the board to actually show all the amazing work that they've been doing at Vista Virtual Academy. So they have 19 virtual clubs. They have 20+ students participating in multiple clubs, as you can see here. Next slide, please. We have some pictures. She put some pictures in the slide deck of her amazing students and the work that they're doing. Next slide, please. At the elementary level, they have a lot of in-person activities, which include Fab Lab, neighborhood snakes, supply pickups, winter art, stuffed animal sleepover, park pick meetups, and picture day. In the middle grades, they have Fab Lab, field trips, and also they have picture day. And for the high school, they have some of the exact same which also include senior portraits. Some other items that are coming soon, I believe that's Zumba, some more park meetups, in-person support days for our SPED students, a movie day, sports day, picnic in the park, and more. Next slide, please. These are some more pictures of the work that they're doing, in-person activities that were mentioned on the previous slide. So students have the opportunity to come in person. So they're not just at home the entire time on Zoom. Next slide. You see some more in-person activities, curriculum and instruction, some students collaborating. They had a Cash for College Day, students doing independent work. They also had a college week, and they had a student leading a class as well. Next slide, please. This is their tutorial, Vista High School tutorial and lab schedule. And this is two slides of that, which you see where they have professional development days, when the class offerings for every day of the week, and what students have in terms of offerings. And then you can see there's also club meetings on some of these days as well. Next slide, please. Our Vista Virtual High School, you can see she has her syllabi here. So the board and family and community could see what's being offered to all of our students. Next slide. Here we have a schedule of our Algebra 1 and the offerings. And so what happens typically in their Google Classroom, some of the assignments and the work week by week. Next slide, please. For our independent study options, the independent study program occupies 3 classrooms located at the Old Portola campus in El Cerrito. Students who participate in independent study will experience daily interaction and synchronous learning. So for grades TK3, we have daily synchronous instruction for all students. In grades 4 through 8, we have both daily live interaction and weekly synchronous instruction. And in grades 9 through 12, we have weekly synchronous instruction. Next slide, please. This is some of the curriculum for the Virtual Academy. For our elementary programs, we have beyond just our traditional adopted curriculum. Students also have access to Seesaw, Nearpod, iReady. We have the learning platform available for all students in the district. STAR, Zern, Clever Portal for reading, and Mayan. In middle school, they also have Khan Academy, TCI History, Amplify Science, McGraw-Hill, YouTube, and Edpuzzle. In our middle school programs, they use Nearpod, Big Ideas, ELA, Common Lit, Quiz Is, and TED Talks. Next slide, please. This is our current enrollment data for Vista Virtual Academy. We currently have 400 students as of January 2023, as compared to the 505 students that we had in June 2022. This is our number of ELL students for Vista Virtual Academy. We have 74 total, which makes up 18.5% of the school. Next slide, please. We have our ethnic breakdown comparison. So the percent of African-American students, American Indian, Asian, Filipino, Hispanic, Latino, Pacific Islander, and white. That's in January 2020. I'm sorry, can you go back one slide for me? That's the left slide. The left side is January 2023, and then the comparison on the right is June 2022. Next slide, please. This is a percentage of Virtual Academy students by special ed, by special population comparison. So for special education in 2022, our special ed students made up 10%. And in 2023, it's 12.5%. And our ELLs 14% in 2022. And now we're at 18.5% in 2023. Next slide, please. For interest and recruitment, parents currently fill out an interest form, and then they're invited to an orientation where Principal McCormick and her staff, where space allows, they are admitted. They recently adjusted the RSP caseloads to ensure resources for resource students could be pulled off of the wait list. There are currently no K-8 students on the wait list and 16 students in grades 9 through 12 on the wait list. Space will be reevaluated as we enter semester 2. That concludes our presentation for Vista Virtual. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Huffman. Okay, board, we're gonna move to questions. And again, Principal Jordan McCormick is also here. We have 3 questions. We'll do 1.5 minute comments. Clerk Smith-Folds, we'll start with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. You answered one of my questions, which was how many students do we have on the wait list? And you said none for elementary and 16 for 9 through 12. My second question is, in your slideshow, I didn't see high school curriculum, right? I saw middle school twice. I saw 2 middle school and then I saw elementary school. Was it mislabeled or high school's not there?
Can I answer that? I'm sorry. It's past my bedtime, you guys. Let me wake up. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. So the high school curriculum was there, and what it's labeled as is course syllabi. And so what everybody does in order for our school to exist, we have to have subject matter experts. And so each teacher in that subject matter evaluates the course syllabi. So we use the district resources, and then that way we all have access to them. So when you go back to the presentation, when there were two things that looked up and there were hyperlinks, that was all the high school curriculum there as well, along with Edgenuity and a lot of other different resources we use.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And that is my only question. I do have some comments, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Reckler, go ahead.
Good evening. Nice to see everyone. I was wondering if anybody knows what happened to the Hello, everyone. Hopefully this is better. I was wondering if anybody knew what happened to the 100+ students that are not here this year.
I can't tell you exactly where they are. And actually, let me correct our numbers too. As of today, we're 419 with an orientation this Friday with another 15 kids. What ended up happening, for whatever reason, all of our students in both vistas were sent back to their home schools. And so the 400+ students that we have are the returning students, and then some now showing interest. So most of those students went back to their home schools, we're assuming, because they were placed there as school started, if that makes sense.
And do we know of all the students that enrolled, are they all zoned for the WCCUSD jurisdiction, or did people try to enter did people in 2021, like back, like during COVID nightmare, was it people from other districts? And are there any people from other districts now?
Yes, we currently have a small sampling and growing. I don't know if you remember last year, we were given permission in the virtual academy to take kids all over California, as long as they went through the process of giving up their seat in their current LEA. So we do have a couple students, and it's slowly growing as we get better at publicizing who we are and stabilizing ourselves. We are still a work in progress and growing and learning and changing weekly.
And how are you advertising, or is there advertising going on?
So we initially started paying internally because this has been a passion project, but passion sometimes gets expensive. So we have our social media, we have a Facebook page, we have been doing Instagram. We currently kind of slow down because we noticed that people who want us will find us. And so we haven't had a lack of interest. We've been really starting to work on like ironing out how does fit look in our world and what's appropriate for our students. And our next step is just to continue to work with the district. To be clear, we did go to the public school fair and had a really good time, just really sharing who we are, not really trying to recruit people, but letting people kind of experience the Vista way and our vibe. And just as we continue to grow, we will continue to use district resources and work with the district, as well as work with our teachers who are all over the state of California and publicizing ourselves for, again, people who are looking for what we have to offer and the right fit.
Okay, thank you. I do have a comment at the end.
Thank you, Trustee Reckler.
Trustee Reckler, I just want to add one thing that I can actually bring the numbers back on students who are trying to enroll who are outside of the district. I was actually looking at the interest forms, and there are several students who are currently on those interest forms who are either charter or out of district. And so I'll bring that back to another board meeting or one of our sessions.
Thank you. Anyone else's questions? Okay, we're gonna move to comments. I'm sorry, Trustee Phillips, didn't see you.
No problem. I just have one question because I appreciate the things that you're doing. And spoiler alert for people who don't know, one of my children goes to this school. But are you guys going to get a band? That's the easiest question you're going to get. Are you guys going to get a band?
I'm so sorry to laugh. That is probably the biggest staff joke that we've been telling for years now, along with the PE facilities and the pool built behind Vista. I know that I have a parent on the school board, so I'm very open to getting a band if I could get a band.
Hallelujah. Thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you. Trustee Baron?
Yeah, I was wondering, I didn't really see much. I'm not sure if it is happening, but I was curious about what kind of like career like resources the students might be given regarding like for high school students plans after high school and everything, because I know virtually it might be a little bit more difficult or it might be a different process than students in person. But I was curious as to how students are educated about career paths after high school and how they can go about searching for those kinds of resources. And yeah.
Thank you. I love that question. So we do have a full-time counselor. She is based out of Idaho. Every one of my seniors are required to meet with her twice a year. And if you go to our website or if you come to our orientations, you see that we talk about college and or career with our kids because we know that college isn't for everybody. And so one of the things that is the charge of our school is we really believe in teaching kids to learn how they learn. And part of learning how you learn is kind of figuring out what your passion is and what your path is. So from the beginning of anybody's journey with the Vista family, that's really what we focus on, like what's next for you. One of the things that I preach in every single one of my graduation speeches is that high school is just the beginning. You know, we celebrate graduation like it's an end, and it's not. It's really a step forward. And so we also have a college and career course that we run weekly where that's also taught by our counselor, where she focuses with the students on college and or career and helps them develop a life path. The other thing we also do too is every year we do the same assignment around goal setting. And what we found is that as repetitive as it may sound, when you have something to compare as you're changing and growing, it helps you kind of guide yourself as to where your passions are. And so ideally, at the end of any student who stays with us, whether they stay to graduate or just come for a minute, we teach them or we focus them in the mindset of being focused on their path as a learner. Because part of the Vista way is to stay a lifelong learner. Learning doesn't stop just because classroom is not the only place to learn. And that is a huge focal point for us. And that comes from how we build relationships with students, how we teach the way we teach, and how we view what is, people talk about independent studies like it's this, go meet your teacher, get your work packet and fill it out, and it's hardly that. Really what it is it's a facilitative approach to learning where you put the kid in the center, you put your learner there, and you go through it, up, down, round, and about. And in that process, people grow and learn together. So there isn't a one-off with how we do college and career, but we do have an amazing counselor. So if somebody wants it as a one-off, but it really is just a process of how we approach student-centered learning in our schools. And thank you for that question. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you for that response. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Principal Jordan McCormick for joining us. So good to see you.
Thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure. It's time for me to go to bed. Have a wonderful evening.
Of course. Okay, we're gonna move to comments. I see Clerk Smith-Bowles, then I'll move to Trustee Reckler.
Okay, so thank you very much for the presentation.
Oh, I'm
And-
sorry, Trustee Reckler. It was Clerk Smith-Bowles and then you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. No. The sound is off tonight.
Thank you so very much. I do want to give everyone their flowers while they're here. I think that Dr. Hurst, one of the things that Vista Virtual has going for it is its caliber of teachers, right? I know that we have a science teacher at Vista Virtual who is in the astronaut program. How amazing is that? I know that we have a teacher at Vista Virtual who got Teacher of the Year last year. How amazing is that? I also know that Principal Jordan McCormick is very intentional about the Vista way. And I think that that's something that WCCUSD as a district needs to grab onto. What is the WCCUSD way and how do we say it every time, right? So I know that one of the things that virtual school does very well is it's intentional about student learning and those individual plans, right? We like to call them the IEPs, but those individual education plans for all students, not just those students who we categorize as needing an IEP, but all students get that. So I think that that's a very positive too. I would like to have more updates on virtual school because it is one of our specialized schools that we have in the district. So I would like to have it on a kind of cycle coming back to us, and we're talking about it and looking at data and test scores and students' experience and all the things that go along with a specialized school and a school that we have in the district in general. Thank you, President Gonzalez-Hoy. Again, staff, thank you for the presentation. I am complete.
Thank you, Clerk Smith-Folds. Trustee Reckler.
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, it was very nice to see everyone. I see unlimited potential in this concept. It's a little niche now. It's not going to be niche for long. I mean, it's no secret that the pandemic remapped everyone, and there's a large number of people that want to reclaim their family time, and they don't want to be a routine, and they want to travel around the country in an RV with their kids, or they want to go live off grid, like whatever the situation is. And this is the answer. It's high quality. It sounds like it's, you know, I mean, I know that teacher is amazing, that the astronaut, I went to one of his programs. There is, you know, really the sky is the limit on this. So even neighboring districts, I know Berkeley, their parents, a lot of them were very upset that their virtual school was discontinued. I think that there is low hanging fruit that can be picked up. And then I think that there is a national push that can really be made just along with K-12 and these charters. So I see really unlimited potential. I think it needs to be a little sophisticated though. Like, I personally cringe whenever you tell me that you're putting in the DMV. So yes, everybody goes there, but it's not necessarily, you know. So you could think about it, good places to advertise. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Reckler. Trustee Phillips.
So when we talk about innovation in virtual schools, I want to remind people that we did not start doing this because of the pandemic. This is something that we were working towards before the pandemic started. So we were actually ahead of the curve. And so when we look at how other schools, their virtual schools have closed, it's because they really didn't have virtual schools. They were doing temporary distance learning. And this is something that we worked on as a district with Principal McCormick at the helm to make sure that we had a real school, and we do now. And I only have 45 seconds, but my daughter loves being there. Mr. Thomas, who's the astronaut, is one of her teachers. She is extremely inspired by him. I have not heard any complaints about her teachers. She's engaged. It's a good place for you to be. And if you're wondering about where to go, that is a place you can go, particularly if you want to try to build your own kind of curriculum for your child, because there's a limited amount of time while you're there, but then there's all this other time that you could add on as well. So it works. That's one parent to another. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Phillips. Trustee Baron.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to the educators and teachers that are a part of this virtual school and everything. I think it already takes a lot to be an educator, to teach kids in person, and to be there every day and show up for these kids, and to do it from a screen, which I can say is significantly harder for my sophomore year on Zoom. It's difficult. There's issues that arise, but the fact that there's educators and educators and teachers who care about providing these kids education, no matter what their circumstances are, for whatever reasons they need these kinds of resources. It's amazing, and it's amazing to see educators and teachers who are willing and happy to provide that to students from wherever they need to be or must be. And I'm very proud to see that. So thank you to those teachers and those educators.
Thank you, Trustee Baron. Trustee Santos?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of second on that. We've seen how difficult it is firsthand to have teachers online. But I think it is really interesting to see. And personally, as someone who was online for a little bit longer, because middle college was online for like an extra year, I would say that some of my like online classes were some of the best ones I've had. I think there are definitely some students who benefit a lot more from being online. And it's great to see that, students get that option. And there's nothing else to add to that. I just think it's really cool and it's really interesting. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Santos. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Huffman. Thank you, Ms. Jordan McCormick. Okay, so that was our last item for the night. So now we're going to transition to comments from the board. We have time for 2.5 comments, 2.5 minutes of comments each. So we'll go in order, starting with our student trustees. I'm sorry. Okay. Trustee Baron, we're gonna start with you, but if you let us put up the clock, you don't have a 2.5 minute. Let's do 3 minutes then.
If it's all right, if Trustee Santos could start off first before I
Sure, of course, yeah, and just so you can always pass and we can come back. So anytime.
Thank you.
Not pass, I'm sorry. You can always ask to come back to you. Trustee Santos, you can start.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the first thing that I kind of wanted to say was thank you to the people who spoke up during public comment. I think that's personally one of the parts from the meetings that really resonate with me. And I kind of wanted to talk about two very specific words that I heard both during public comment and also throughout this meeting. Those words being transparency and also listening. I kind of first would like to address the board and request both of these things to happen. I think we all need to be open to listening and willing to be transparent, whether it is, letting families know why they aren't seeing certain things moving forward. I know Dr. Hurst, when we talked about the DLI program earlier, you kind of explained to us why that was happening. And I think there are certain families who might not be aware of that, and kind of expressing that and sharing that with them and explaining why it is that some things that they may think are really important or are very urgent may not be happening as quickly or in the urgency that they see fit. And I think that would really give a lot of people an explanation, because I think a lot of the people here want an explanation as much as they also want change enacted. They want to know why it isn't happening when it isn't. Furthermore, I think also when change is happening, how it's happening could also be very helpful. And then something that was mentioned that I think personally resonated with me as well was bullying being brought up. And that I think for me also goes back to listening and being open to hearing out what is happening in these scenarios. I know that it was mentioned that it was emailed and that it was voiced, but nothing happened. And I think we shouldn't have to push parents, teachers, or anybody to have to come here in order for their issues to be resolved. I know, like, after they present it, we say, okay, come give us your information afterwards, and then we'll handle it. But I personally think we should really do something about it before. I know it's difficult, I understand that, but just something moving forward. And I also, before move on, I would also like to talk about ASC, the All Student Congress. And I know we mentioned, with Ashton's presentation and changes being made led by students, for students. And I think that's something that we are really trying to bring forth with All Student Congress this year. We are working really hard in getting that set up. It's already started now. And we hope that moving forward, we can really bring you guys more of those presentations. And just kind of before I wrap this up, I know when we first signed up for this, Dr. Hurst, you asked why it is that we wanted to do this. And I hope that moving forward, we can all take time and address that ourselves, even you guys included, why it is that we do this. and, being willing to be transparent and listen to people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Santos. Trustee Christian, do you have comments?
Yes. I just want to say thank you to our student trustees, because they always speak some good words of wisdom, and they always gonna put something out there for us to really think about and really take in consideration. But I just wanted to say happy Black History Month to all of us here in this district. And there's a lot of activities that's going to be taking place. I'm going to try to make it to quite a few of the activities. I might have to take off a day, but I'm going to spend a day at some of the sites. I just wanted to say is that as the district, we got to continue to work hard on improving everything we do, and don't let stuff fall on deaf ears. That we be attentive to the needs and making sure that people are being taken care of, and making sure that our district is functioning the way it's supposed to be functioning, with the full capacity of really making some good things happen for our students and staff here in this district. We have a lot of challenges before us, but we got to keep moving forward and don't go backwards. But we got to stay true to what we're doing. So once again, I just want to thank everybody for their hard work. And through the challenges, but don't give up. That we got to keep moving forward, and making the changes and the things that needs to happen in our area. So I appreciate this, man. It's a lot we got to do. So that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Christian. Trustee Reckler, do you have comments?
I do, thank you. So first, I'd like to start by recognizing Janet Abelson, who passed last week. Janet was certainly an amazing supporter of our schools. She had 5 kids. They all went through El Cerrito schools. In particular, she served on the PTA at Harding, Portola, which is now Korematsu, El Cerrito High School. She still was on the archiving community at El Cerrito High School and administered the Violet Richardson award program, which honors amazing young women who do amazing public service. After she left El Cerrito, she served for decades on the El Cerrito City Council, and of course on pretty much every board in this area, including Democratic Party of Contra Costa County. For many of us who are in public office now, she supported us. I have these stories, I can't say them out loud, but boy, she was really fierce political. She told me, I was like, I cannot do that. I just cannot, like, beyond my level of comfort. So this little lady with the sweet voice was competitive in competition. We will miss her. There will be a public service at some point, and they will send that out when they have that organized. I would like to also thank everybody who put on the Ed Fair last week. It was a great event. It was really well attended. I had a great time. I caught up with all these people. So I definitely recommend that. Our schools look really good, and it was a terrific opportunity. And then I do want to thank Mary Kat Johansson, who put together the plaque for Barbara Lewis at El Cerrito High School. And I also want to thank Mr. Fries and the facilities team, because they got that thing up and mounted, and it looks really good, and it means a lot to her. And then finally, I'm looking forward to speaking with Ashton. I did see his video, and he contacted me right away and wanted to fill my ear with what I could do to push his program forward. So I know he's going places. I also want to thank the practice space, though. So apparently, I haven't talked to Anne Marie Baines, but he worked with the practice space, which is run by Anne Marie Baines, and it's a very unique local nonprofit that we have here. And what she does is help people find their voice. And that's what her whole program is about, people finding and expressing and using their voice. And she works primarily with students in our district. And I hope that every student gets a chance to work with her because she's amazing. And I don't exactly know what she did in this, but when I saw the practice space, I was not at all surprised. So that's it. And thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
Thank you, Trustee Reckler. Trustee Phillips, do you have comments?
Thank you. So I want to acknowledge Janet Abelson as well. She was a great public servant. She was also a mentor to many people. And she was very frank when she would talk to you about what was happening or not happening. So she will be missed. And I am smiling because the thoughts that I am remembering in this moment are positive. So thank you for recognizing her, Trustee Reckler. One of the things that I want to say in this space right now is that I believe if you are in public office, that you came to the space with good intentions. I know there are some aberrations where that doesn't apply, but 99% of the time, I think that applies. One of the things that I've noticed, though, is that it is very easy to try to be all things to all people, but you can't. No matter how big you are or what your capacity level is, you cannot be all things to all people. And what ends up happening when you try to be all things to all people is you end up being no things to people. And I think that goes for public agencies as well, including school districts. We have a large charge, an extremely important one, in the sense that we're responsible for ushering young people into the future. But there are some things that we have to do well. If we were talking about sports or basketball, we talk about the fundamentals. And so my question to the district today is, are our fundamentals sound? And when we talk about third grade reading levels, when we talk about where the TK children are, we must admit that the answer is no. So while we end up talking about all of these multifaceted things because everybody wants us to be all things to all people, but we're not getting the fundamentals down, it's not really working. And so I would encourage us to, yes, when we could have flourishes, to have those flourishes, because it's always nice to spice things up, but to make sure that our fundamentals are sound, because our fundamentals are what the kids really need in this district to move forward, and they don't have them. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Trustee Phillips. We're going to go to Clerk Smith-Folsom, and then we're going to come back to you, Trustee Barron.
Thank you so much, President Gonzalez-Hoy. I just want to take a minute to explain. The student trustees asked a very important question: why do we do this work? So I just want to explain why I do the work. To my colleagues, I don't have trust issues. I have a brain that learns patterns. And I know that we must be better than the system that we serve. The system that we serve is the educational system. The educational system has never been set up for the success of Black and Brown students. We must have people who do what's right, not just because they're told or what's easy, but we are supposed to do what's right because it's what's right for the entire community that we serve. We have to be something to someone. We have to figure out who we are and what we do every day to serve the population of students that depend on us, to give the teachers the support that depend on us, to protect the staff that depend on us. That's our job as public servants of the educational system. We heard tonight that sustainability is the key for growth. Absolutely. Sustainability is the key for growth, but so is intentionality and purpose-filled moves. We have the ability to make policy that can change things in this district. We have to be brave enough to do it. It is our job to change the needle, to press forward, to move the system for the benefit of all the students that it's supposed to serve. Our district does not serve every student, and that's not okay. And it falls on us because we sit at the top. We were elected to make sure the district serves everyone. So we need to do our job as a board. That means showing up to meetings. That means being prepared. That means listening to the community. That means going out to sites. That means putting your butt on the line every single day to serve the community that put our butts in the seat. We owe it to them. We had a teacher that came on and talked about the fact that we need to prevent further harm and prevent extinction. She's absolutely right. There is harm being done to Black and brown students in this district every day. And we need to prevent that. We need to make sure that we are preventing the extinction of students every single day. In the last 30 seconds, I'm going to talk about Black women who have not been mentioned from our community or on this board. So all Black women. The most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman. Malcolm X said that. We have heard from Black students who are women and young ladies and brown students who are women and young ladies telling you that they are disrespected, they are dishonored, they're unprotected, and they're harmed. It's our job to do better. I am complete, President Gonzalez-Hoy.
Thank you, Clerk Smith-Folds. Trustee Baron?
Yes, thank you. First of all, happy Black History Month. It's a very important month to have, a very proud month to have, and it's important. We should always be celebrating Black History Month, not just February, every year, every day, around the clock. To touch on some things that Trustee Santos also talked about, she mentioned some stuff that we're hoping to incorporate into ASC and start getting the ball rolling with that and everything. And something that was brought up today and has been a hot topic for a while now is regarding racism in the district, the use of derogatory terms and the N-word in the district. As an RHS student, the protest that the BSU at RHS had last week was beautiful, and it showed how much passion that students have when it comes to important issues like this that need to be resolved and need to be heard about. And it's important that we listen to their voices and to these issues. So I hope we can continue supporting them and learning what we can do to help them and fix things, because at the end of the day, we are meant to serve the community. This is a job that you are all elected for, and that means you are to serve the community, and that means listening to the community and listening to these students' voices. And I hope we can continue aiding these students and the community in that, and help in ending the use of derogatory language and racism in the district. And again, we stop, you stop. There was a lot addressed in public comment as well, and there was a lot that stood out to me. Some things that stood out to me was a young boy who came in today and quoted his grandmother, I believe, saying, "Being bilingual is a superpower," and that's regarding the DLI program and everything. Those words spoke so much meaning and weight, and they touched me very deeply into my heart and my core. As someone whose first language was also Spanish, it's so important that these kids understand that being bilingual and bilingualism, it's a superpower. Like he said, it's a superpower, and it extends beyond just language, and it extends into connection and community and coming together, and hearing each other and all that. So that was beautiful. And I hope that we can continue listening to these parents and community members regarding the DLI program and everything, and being transparent when it comes to these issues. again, I'm also hoping that progress is being made with UTR. But yeah, I believe my time has ended, so thank you.
Thank you so much, Trustee Baron. And Dr. Hurst said that he doesn't have any comments, so I'll jump straight into my comments. Because I know we all want to get home. So first, I have an apology to make to the public and to the board. We totally messed up public comment today. We did not do public comment after discussion items. Tonight was our first night doing new public comment. It totally spaced out. So we're gonna call today a wash. We're gonna start again on the 15th. And hopefully, if I do forget, please board correct me. I welcome that. But I don't think any of us caught it. We all just continue to do our thing. So I apologize to everybody if you wanted to make comment on one of the items. We will start again next meeting. I also want to thank everybody for the agreements we made yesterday at our retreat. I'm going to send a follow-up email with just some reminders of some of the agreements that we made as a board. I also want to thank Trustee Reckler for the mention of Councilmember Abelson. She'll be missed very much. I do want to give everybody a heads up. I do think that the February 15th meeting is going to be a very long meeting. So I encourage all of us on the board to attend our one-on-ones. Ask as many questions as we can before the board meeting, because we do have some items that we can't skip to our push for the next meeting. We heard obviously DLI, which is going to be a long meeting, but Summit's coming back, and we have other items that are going to take quite a bit of time. So I encourage us all to be as efficient as possible within the limitations. And then lastly, I do agree with everybody's comments. I think that we have a huge charge ahead of us. We are a Black and brown board. We have a Black and brown cabinet, right? And there's a lot of weight behind that. I had today someone say to me that I don't care about bilingual students. And that I think that's why I've been down all day, because it's not about the comment that was made, but I think it's about the urgency that people feel about their circumstances. It hurt me so much that I think that the immigrant board member on the board, and someone's telling me I don't care about bilingual students. Obviously it's not, I don't blame them for saying that. I think that their circumstances led them to saying that comment, which tells me that we're just not doing sometimes enough. But the Trustee Phillips comment, we also need to give everyone grace, because with such a large system, we don't change outcomes overnight. It takes time. And maybe when someone looked at Superintendent Hurst's goals today and saw 5% growth, they're like, only 5%. I don't think people understand in a system of 30,000 students, what it takes to grow 5%, right? It's actually a robust goal. It used to be much less before Dr. Hurst. It used to be 1-2%, right? So we're getting there. And I ask everybody grace as we continue to face difficult circumstances and conversations. Thank you so much, everybody. With that, we are at our end. Our next board meeting is the 15th of February. We'll see you all here at the John. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you.